What's happening? Benton here, going live way earlier than scheduled. My apologies if that's an inconvenience for anyone. Although, with zero in the house, I suppose I'm speaking to the replay. Uh, Starting to get a little more into the actual, like, technical aspects of woo, the IRL streaming. So I've started looking at phones, and actually, I'm realizing it's virtually pointless to even change phones unless it's for the 5G ultra wideband or millimeter wave. What's up, Woody? By the way, Music Holds a Secret commented, uh, watermelon makes you hungry. Hey, man. Good to see you, Woody. Thought about going downtown. I'm trying to keep from, it's much more visually interesting down there, but I'm trying not to drive my car too much. Hey, what's happening, Rachel? And Music Holds a Secret hitting me with the padna. And should I start whining about my health right off the bat, or we'll leave that for maybe later on? And if I do schedule these walk and talks, I usually pick 3:30 because, well, there's your 33. But sometimes I'm still asleep at 2 a.m. Believe it or not. Although the last several nights, waking up super early. I went to sleep around 6-ish. Woke up at 9. I was like, what the fuck? Went back to sleep. Woke up what, like 12:30, I guess, a.m. And I got real hungry and I ate. I had 4 cans of tuna left, and I'm going shopping this morning, later today. Dude, my gout is horrible. I guess I am gonna whine about I guess I am gonna whine about the health. Yeah, my gout is horrible. Gout flare-ups. Hey, Roy, what's happening? Apologies. I actually did not even realize I was tired and fatigued until I got out here and started walking around. Sort of a bit bizarre. Really experienced this. Not lately. Huh. What's up, Dow? Well, I don't know if I've tried no gout. Well, the tart cherry extract certainly seems to work in combination with the celery seed extract. Found that to be quite helpful. If you look at some of those concoctions, they have Chanca Piedra, which I'm certainly not pronouncing properly, but that is excellent, except it tends to stir up my gallbladder. So, I've taken it quite a bit, actually, even just in a herbal tea, like just that. But yeah, that's not in the budget anymore. Unfortunately, the truck driving is what funded the effectively unlimited supply of supplements and herbs. So I'm not on too much right now. The baking soda would certainly take care of it in the short term, but that's so rough on the stomach acid. I try to save that for when it's just absolutely necessary, as far as the baking soda. Try to get off this road. Actually, I meant to take that side street. Now that I think about it, actually, let's do that. Let's start going this way. I don't like that everything gets hemmed in on that curve back there. Being up on stage, get more and more aware of the people aware of me, right? Yeah, I mean, the oxalate thing is, like I say, I'm balancing a lot of different things, right? So my stuff's so complicated. Uh, you know, no matter what I end up doing, it's gonna run afoul of something I've got going on, which I know it sounds nuts, but ultimately, like if I just go by what make what leads to me feeling the best, I just would stop eating. I'm not even kidding. Like I don't feel well today. A lot of it is because I ate more than normal. If that makes sense. And it fucks me up. Although it didn't fuck me up certain ways, like my digestion and things I may have expected, it actually didn't fuck me up that bad. So in the past, the gallbladder wouldn't have been able to deal with all this, the extra oils and stuff, the olive oil. But that's the fucking kidneys, man. But yeah, I hear you on the oxalates. It's just I'm not able to zero in on like one thing. It just doesn't work that way. But I hear you. It's interesting. I could ride a skateboard through here. Yeah, I hear you, man, on the gout. Remember, we're not going through doctors, and I'm just using words that mean fucking foot pain. Ultimately, that's realistically well. All I'm saying is I'm having a certain type of like neuropathy in my feet. But I'm using the word gout because most people know what that means. So you see how we don't even really know what the fuck we're talking about. Not me and you. I mean, just people and the confusion around these topics. I've just picked a word that sort of most folks know that more or less means what I'm referring to here, right? I'm not talking about an actual medical diagnosis. So maybe I should just, I don't know. It's like, I'd like to be able to use some of these terms, right? But it's fraught with peril, as we see, right? Well, I understand what you're saying about oxalate poisoning, but I don't have that. See, that's not what I have. But if you have that, then I understand why you're zeroed in on it. But I don't have that. I did not consume anything high in oxalates pretty much my whole life. And I don't know, are there lots of oxalates in just fucking all kind of junk food, like all sort of processed fucking sugary high fat junk food? Is that high in oxalates, like Little Debbie's and all of that stuff? I'm not trying to be a dick. I'm just saying, like, does that have a lot? Because that's what I ate. Peanut butter crackers. I used to eat a lot of one piece of toasted bread with turkey, like cold cuts. See, looking back, man, I don't think I've consumed hardly anything with oxalates in it, like on a regular basis my whole life. Whatever I've got ain't got a damn thing to do with oxalates. I will tell you when I thought that when I was real sick and thought maybe some green juice would help me out. That's I think when I discovered what the fuck oxalates were. It was like, yeah, okay, maybe avoid that when one's deathly ill, but yeah, otherwise I've got issues and it's not. But yeah, if I was going to live another 30 years, I'm sure I'd want to avoid them. And then a lot of folks, it seems like, have had just fucking high doses, like for years, right? Not knowing any better. Yeah. But yeah, I learned from that. What's his name? That Ken Berry or whatever. Because when I was researching all this, I was just literally trying to find food I could eat, like anything. What can I eat without making me sicker? And so at a certain point, they're like, oh, you can't have purines or whatever. And apparently tuna's got a lot of that. But Ken Berry was like, oh, that doesn't fucking matter. Doesn't mean anything. They don't know what the fuck they're talking about. So there's a lot of they don't know what the fuck they're talking about out there for sure. Yeah. Well, maybe just, but then now is it all the foods are loaded up with oxalates? Because you see what you're doing to me here, right? Like, I have to eat something, right? Or I don't actually, but I could just not eat. So if they load the food up with oxalates, like, so why am I even worried about it? See, if it's just, oh, the food's loaded up with oxalates, then well, now I don't have anything to worry about because the food's loaded up with oxalates, and meaning I can't fucking do anything about it. See, I need like specific information, if that makes sense. Like I'll still, if I'm still having to eat oxalates because the food's loaded up with oxalates, I'll just do my best to minimize it. See what I mean? Like I can only really deal with like what is, not like we're under attack and they're fucking poisoning us. Yeah, I understand that. Like I understand we're under attack and they're poisoning us, but I can't do anything with that. If that makes sense. There you go. I like that now. THCOX pilots. Yeah, no kidding. No kidding. And you know, I'm lucky to get enough calories. I mean, ultimately, I'm in fucking starvation here, semi-starvation. That's part of me eating the 4 cans of tuna last night because part of my brain is like, no, don't eat that. It might fuck you up worse. And then another part's like, we're in semi-starvation. What the fuck is wrong with you? Like, how could this be a mistake? Well, it's the goddamn neuropathy in both feet now, right? Which isn't even pain because I can deal with pain. That's easy. It's fucking just like pins and needles, and I've had both feet go numb. But yeah, I can just say gout, but I mean, maybe it is oxalate poisoning. How the fuck do I know? Does it even really matter? I mean, and honestly, like, does it even fucking matter? Like, a lot of these fucking horses are out of barns and ships sailed. I mean, it just sort of is what it is at this point. Maybe I should just stop talking about it. I don't know. What do y'all think? Yeah. Yeah, I hear you on the meat. So the 4 cans of tuna didn't have oxalates in it, but I wake up this morning. See what I'm saying? Like, it's not oxalates. That's literally what I had. Fucking 4 cans of tuna last night. But I had all my normal food too that I normally eat. So I don't even know why we're talking about oxalates, to be honest with you. But I don't mind having an oxalate conversation. I'm just confused. Or I mean, if this is just going to be the old person, myself included, the old person complaining about their health, you know. I've walked into many stores, or you know, in the morning, and people are having coffee, you know, more or less comparing their fucking ailments, right? Country folks. So, I mean, I can get down with that too if I need to. I don't know. I guess since it's happening to me. I guess since it's happening to me. I'm vlogging, and Musical's a secret is blogging in live chat. Oh man. Yeah, I do think that people, you know, after my little hissy fit there, I do think that people, it would be better if people knew more about oxalates. It's something I've just heard, like here and there, you know, especially having done so much research in the past. But it seems to me like, yeah, the cumulative effect, exactly. I think that's probably the place to start. If me or you, or you know, there's an audience, there's 15 people, shout out to 15 people, and now me and Music Holds a Secret are talking about oxalates. So yeah, if there's going to be some benefit, I do think the cumulative effect that I've heard about, that's probably the most relevant thing. Because normally, right, just a human in a fucking vacuum, our organs do tend, it seems to me like they deal with the oxalates like they deal with a lot of poisons, right? But so I understand that, you know, oh, now we've taken in too many, you know, unbeknownst to us, and now the body's unable, you know, there's only so much the body can excrete in a given period, right? So once that's exceeded, now I think that's what Music Holds a Secret's talking about, is this cumulative effect. And now there's like, you know, like inflammatory toxins in the tissues, right? So that's what we're talking about, right? Toxins in the tissues that cause inflammation. So I'm assuming that's why I got pins and needles and some pain, neuropathic pain. I don't know, but again, just using the words, you know, given to me more or less, right? I think I'm making sense. Yeah, fuck doctors, man. I mean, and look, I'm not mad at you, Music Holds a Secret. Fuck doctors. I mean, yeah, if I'm talking about my health, I guess at some point I'm going to end up talking about, you know, the medical system and doctors. But man, fuck those motherfuckers. I mean, I understand that, you know, if I was going to potentially live to be 80 or whatever, I'd probably have no choice. I mean, I feel for the older folks, man, and I guess I am one of them now to some extent, but at least on my scale. But yeah, you know, like my mom and just my dad, thankfully, he's pretty freaking healthy, actually, I have to say. But you know, my mom, more or less at this point, is just no choice the rest of her life to some extent. Hip replacement, I'm pretty sure they're going to do the other one. I was halfway convinced they were going to string her out on fucking pain meds, man. Which I guess they'll have another shot at her with the. She's already had surgery on her thyroid, parathyroid. It's just a whole. We know. I mean, there's really no reason to go back through. We know what the medical system is. Doesn't mean that certain folks won't end up subject to it, right? I guess I don't know if Machine Lies is still live or not. That seemed to be. He had like 50 people, I think, last time I checked in, but that might have wrapped by now. I'm not really sure. What's up, Capricorn? Yeah, okay. And exactly, man. Yeah. Arthritis. Exactly. Yeah, man, and just the inflammation thing. And look, if we want to call it oxalates, I don't have a problem with that. It's just I guess my confusion is, and I understand that a lot of foods have them, but I just haven't. A lot of those foods, I was so picky, I just never ate a lot of the foods that, if it's just like, oh, top 10 foods highest in oxalates, it's like mostly shit I would never eat. Like you couldn't pay me to eat fucking 9 out of 10 of them, probably. That's where I'm coming from on it. I'm not sure if I ever got the full buildup, but then when we get into damaging my organs through alcohol, although they were already damaged and diseased in certain ways, I mean, inarguably, but then did I put my body in a state where like now my knees hurt because like my organs weren't up to the job of getting rid of these poisons, right? That I've been encountering my whole life, most likely, but not in enough, not in enough concentration. Perhaps my organs were dealing with them effectively, for a period of time, and then that stopped, and maybe they did start to build up. How the hell would I know? I'm open-minded, right? Doing the best I can. Yeah, doing the best I can with all of that, I'm doing my best here, folks, not to go too just straight up old man, fucking old man health talk. But sometimes I don't know, man. Sometimes it's good, probably. Just like get it out there in the open. What's up, Zadunich? Yeah, people are. Yeah, I mean, again, we can just say oxalates. I'm okay with that, but people are fucked up, regardless of. Hey, man, regardless of where this conversation goes between me and Music Called the Secret, these people are fucked up, man. And I mean, it's just like the walking wounded out here to some extent. I mean, that's a real thing for sure. Stepping on stuff. Man. Well, I know in the last year, I've certainly, again, we can call it oxalates. That's fine with me. I don't got no beef with that, but I can tell I've definitely a lot of inflammation has left my body. Certainly doesn't mean I've gotten rid of all of it, but and I do seem to be manufacturing some of it. So maybe that get into that whole spike protein and whatever the fuck they hit me with, right? The bioweapon. What's up, Keith? I see a word wizard down there. So I'll quit. Maybe I'll just quit saying gout and all these other things. I'll just say, hey, there's some sort of an inflammation process is touched off in my lower body. I don't know what the fuck's going on. My hands too, actually. So then we get some sort of nerve and neurological connection. And looking at the fake pandemic, I mean, there certainly seems like there's elements of that in the fake pandemic. But yeah, if there's no oxalates in meat, and then there's also a lot of nutrition in meat, I don't think it's a coincidence, Music Holds a Secret, that I'm considering when I do my shopping today, changing up what I normally get and going more for beef. But sticking with the sweet potatoes, I understand. I know there's oxalates in the sweet potato. I'm fully aware, sir. Fully aware. But I do well with the sweet potatoes. You know, one sweet potato a day surely is not going to kill me. I need nutrition. I need well and carbohydrate, man. That's effectively the only carbohydrate I get. The onions and the radish, that's not getting us anywhere. You see what I mean? One large sweet potato a day is pretty much the entirety of the carbohydrates I consume. Yeah, I'll just have to deal with the fact that there are although if you Google it, guess what? Sweet potatoes listed as high in oxalate and low in oxalate. I'm not even kidding. Like half these foods are on both lists. I mean, so clearly that isn't research, and just Googling shit ain't gonna work when it comes to oxalates, right? Yeah, and I will say this, Keith. I think it's not good in the long run to artificially boost up the metrics, but I don't know. And ultimately, it's not. YouTube knows I don't control if people want to do 10 likes, but thank you, sir. Much appreciated. It certainly helps out my like ratio percentage, so I guess I have to like it, actually, because yeah, it boosts up that percentage. Sometimes we dip into like the mid 80s on a like to dislike. It's almost always damn near hundreds. That's what I look at. I don't even pay attention to the number, honestly. For the views, we got a lot, so thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah, I know, man. I'm over it, Roy. See, I almost started screen capping, but then I was like, well, wait a minute. And I looked at Machine Live's live tab, and it looks like he leaves most of his up, from what I can tell. And then I was like, why even? Like, how many? We've seen this so many times, man. Dude, what's the point? You know, I don't even know what I'm saying, but same thing over and looping. Yeah, looping. I mean, that's there it is, looping. Yeah, no ox bile has no connection. What are we talking about? Now I'm just lost. I will say the ox bile's helped a lot. Uh, Now, if that's got oxalates in it, it's just too fucking bad. Because, the gallbladder issues in some ways got here first. So I don't want to tell you. If I had known about ox bile when I first developed those which I didn't even know was gallbladder, right? It took me a while. This was years ago. But the taurine and the ox bile, especially in high doses, relatively high dose. I don't think nothing crazy. Doing like 1,000 milligrams of taurine with every meal, and then 1,000 milligrams of ox bile with every meal. It's working. And if I do like when I did the extra meal last night, I hit it again. It's working good. I don't think anything's going to happen, dude. I'm drained. I'm just going to put it down to digestion. My body's, sometimes, and I do like to throw at curveballs. I think our bodies do best in certain ways when it doesn't exactly know what's going to happen. And part of me, when I had pumped up when I had added a lot of muscle mass and I was way stronger for me, right? Like I'm not just a strong dude as far as static strength. So it is a spectrum, but I was strong for me. If that makes sense. Interesting thing about getting up to 195 pounds, with a lot of mass, some fat, of course. The dudes who are just naturally 195, I could always tell that they were stronger than me. Like that's a different thing, like pumping up to that size, than somebody who just naturally is that size. It's not. It's a different thing. I forget why I brought up the weight gain. Oh, just with keeping the body balanced, guessing the body needs to be sure if it's going to get rid of some of that muscle mass, right? And the body's set up for efficiency in a lot of ways. So it wants to get rid of that muscle mass in certain cases if it's able to. And then that's the claim, right? And who knows? But, the claim is that the body will preferentially break down its own lean mass in some cases, which certainly happened to me. Even to keep fat, believe it or not, that's how valuable the body sees fat as. So, what's up with that? I've seen my body break down this lean mass and add a little bit of fucking fat around the middle at the same time. It's interesting how that works. What? I don't even know what that means. Oh, over at Machine Line. Well, and then with the TBE drunk looping, I mean, clearly he's getting something out of it. There's some sort of script, or he can poo-poo my pop psychology all he wants, but there's something to that until he figures that out, what that is and why he's doing that. The so-called shadow work, by the way, isn't it always just the person? Is there something about themselves, their shadow self or whatever it's so called, that they're unwilling to fully face up to and sort of just bring it in. Let's hug it out. I think it was, and technically multiple crazy guys. Michael A. Good to see you. Crazy guy one night, cops were there, and I knew. Look, and I knew the cops would eventually get, especially as all it takes in a little community, not a little community, but we've actually have somebody here who lives in Fort Smith, by the way, that Charlie Brown. I don't think I'm pretty sure he did not find the channel because I'm in Fort Smith. That was a coincidence, right? I know Ms. Blanche is in Arkansas, but the point I'm making is that, especially as so many people use Facebook, and I don't even know what TikTok looks like. Maybe people in local areas communicate. I know they do on Facebook. A smattering of folks knowing, hey, there's some YouTube live streamer, and we were coming back from the bar and saw him out there, or just bits and pieces that filter down. The cops may have gotten word of that to some extent. That one guy that showed up, I think he was just kind of new on the job, inexperienced, first guy, because they've seen me multiple times. Pretty much every time I'm out here, a cop, I know they see me and they just see that I'm not doing anything and they leave me alone, which is what's supposed to happen. Now, I understand the part where they might say, "Oh, here's a community policing opportunity." I have no problem with that, by the way. And like I told the guy, I have read, I've read some stuff here and there in criminal justice, right? Again, somewhere in the public library, is a book or a similar book that I've read, or in whatever the Dewey Decimal System says is criminal justice, whatever. Doesn't qualify me as an expert. I understand the concept of community policing, and this is where I get a little frustrated with highly suspect, and it's like, yeah, can we just call it community? It's helpful to kind of put things in a container, as much as we don't want to be put in a box, but it's helpful to sort of frame these things. So the fact that I've read a book, it's like, oh, I know what community policing is. Pardon me. Yeah, bro, of course. Of course, man. Of course it does. And so, and I felt a little bad because when he was over here but not as himself, I kind of made some comments about his mother and his father. But I've done that several times. And it's not really my style, man. I don't usually, I will attack somebody, but and I will do it. I shouldn't even say that. I don't know. Actually, I'm saying things that I don't even mean. Let me just stop there. I don't know, man. I can't say I wish. I guess I do wish the best for him in some way. Figure it the fuck out. Hopefully he figures it the fuck out. Imagine if he starts making kids, man. I'm not saying he would be a bad parent, but now we get into a lot of folks end up sort of reenacting what a lot of folks start sort of reenacting what their parents did. I know both my sisters were very like mean to their kids when their kids were young, right? And I can only assume my folks were mean to me, right? Mean to us. It's like, whatever. So I'm assuming if I had replicated right around age 20, like most folks from Arkansas seem to do, or at least back then, both my sisters did, within a year or two of 20. Imagine I would have been mean to them as well, right? Isn't that how that works? Isn't that how that works? That's right, man. Thank you. Thank you, Keith. Yeah. Yeah, man. I agree. I've never placed much significance on it. I think maybe, that I figured out, I think the Popo's uh, maybe across the street watching from a distance. Maybe it's undercover, though. Fair play, by the way. I probably would. There's got to be some law enforcement who's just bored as fuck at 2:30 in the morning. It's got to be people working these shifts, if not just to fill out the paycheck. Talking about the bureaucracy sort of growing to justify itself, right? With the tax bases in some of these areas, states like Arkansas, there's no defund the police going on here. I can assure you that. You know, we don't necessarily have fucking jackboot oppressor thugs fucking strutting around everywhere. Although the paramilitary aspect seems to be more or less built into law enforcement. And I know I'm kind of, going amongst several different topics now, but I'm just kind of thinking about how they present themselves. And that's if there was more time for me, and this is where the community outreach, and this, if that supervisor, I'm assuming the sergeant, the big guy from yesterday morning, I would challenge him on the visual, how the officer looks like, they're ready to go off into battle, right? And maybe while honoring that, yes, some of my gear looks like it's ready to go off to battle also. So like, I'm not completely opposed to that look necessarily. Is it like a GI? Are we trying to look like my GI Joe action figures from when I was a kid? Just kind of cool, man. Not for any actual purpose, or maybe just outfit ourselves based on what we're actually going to reach and grab and use based on training. But I don't know. Call me crazy. Oh, Keith's on one, but Keith got wound up. Hecklebus got wound up over at another show, so we'll just I'll just assume I haven't done anything to draw that ire. But although I dish it out certainly often enough that I know I'll be expected to take it here and there. It's just how that works. But yeah, I agree, man. That's a big one. I agree. We all lose our loved ones in many ways. Yeah, I mean, grow the fuck up. It's an immaturity. You're absolutely right, Wizard. That's what it's a lack of maturity, rather more correctly. Lack of maturity, man. People refusing, myself included to some extent in the past, probably. People refusing to just fucking mature. They just refusing. Just like, no, you can. I'm not gonna. They won't mature, and can't nobody make them, right? Yeah, definitely. Thanks, man. Thanks. I don't know what the hell stuff's going on half the time. I'm confused by oxalates and stuff. Like, seriously, I mean, this is. I mean, look who's running the broadcast. I mean, to some extent, it's it's quite the head scratcher in some ways. I don't know. Well, but and why? And then that gets into my contention that a lot of the reason why people refuse to become introspective is, forget about that it's painful and difficult and all of those things. It's disorienting in my experience. I think part of the way, beliefs work is that most people's belief system, as we know, it was more or less constructed, through their socialization process in the system, and then, our psychologies, at least to some extent, are necessarily products of this system. I believe, that's what I would assert anyway, or I do assert. And I forgot where I was going with that. You folks know I've talked about it. Um, so I think with that unexamined belief system, so a lot of folks have just never really, exercised introspection on any level, but it's to varying degrees, right? So I found as a younger person, I wasn't introspective at all. But when I wanted to learn a skill or master something, like trying to ollie on a skateboard, like learning to ollie, and nobody could ollie hardly where I lived, and all of this stuff wasn't, looking back on it, not a big deal, but kind of a big deal. Um, I'm going to necessarily need to have some version of, even though it's not a visual, but to perceive myself from outside of my own container or sphere in order to critique whatever I'm doing, especially in a sport or kinesthetically, right? Which is a form of intelligence in a way. So that's probably what got me going in that way. But most folks, what's their motivation? But then I think I'm speculating that people use their own belief system that again wasn't even really is sort of beside the point. I don't think they understand or comprehend, most folks, that they most likely never actually examined that belief system and then said, yes, I agree with that. Okay, but this thing I don't agree with. So slide this other thing in its place. Now, some folks, yeah, sure, of course. But again, I'm playing the averages here. I'm playing the grouping everybody together and saying it seems like the majority, the largest group we can throw in one bucket if we were just now am I sewing division. Now the part of the introspection is now I must necessarily examine what am I doing that I claim to hate, but I can only really prove I hate it as far as I know by not acting on it or through my actions. And one seems like one of the basic things is to make sure I'm always looking for it within me, and then as soon as it shows itself, tear it out by the root, and throw it into the fire, right? Whatever that is, metaphorically. Again, that is the practice or one of the practices. So who's really trying to do all this all day, every day? The very me, apparently, right? And not that I want any credit or it's some great undertaking. I don't mean it that way. I respond to the competition. I have to have a competition pretty much at all times, and I will just make them. So I can just invent competition. It's not a problem. What's up, Snafu? How are you? Yeah, alcohol, man. It's alcohol is obliteration, and this is why I got so much emotion and I got so locked in on that Crunchy Bee saga, and I reflected on some of my behavior, and I saw where it was, you know, a little inappropriate, based just trying to line everything up, to have everything in alignment and to behaving righteously and correctly as much as possible. Right? Like every once in a while, I'll tweak the formula. I by then I had such an understanding through experience of what it is to drink to that degree, and that is obliteration. It destroys everything. So whatever those negative things are, so called, that the person is dealing with, or even if they're not dealing properly or they're attempting to cope very poorly, well, the alcohol is not a coping mechanism. See, that's a mistake to think that way, in my view. It just destroys all of that temporarily. That shit is just gone. It don't exist. It's not a factor. But then clearly, when the person comes out of the stupor, now it's back. But then the person can then return to the stupors, and now that's the cycle of daily drinking. And then for some people, it's multiple versions of that even in a 24-hour cycle. And then we get into how much poison can the person's organs recover from in a given time. And then I've known since more or less day one of drinking on some level that I'm on the low end of that. My body can't take much compared to Austin Murphy, who can probably going to do it for fucking 45 straight years, whatever that's going to end up. Some people got it like that, and I'm not jealous because alcohol's never been my thing, really. It just hasn't. But again, give me a beer and a blunt and I'm good historically. Um, yeah, and this is interesting what Hecklebus is saying here, because Crow 777 has talked about some of this stuff, but some of these ideas are so abstract in certain ways, it's hard to apprehend them. It can be difficult in the moment in the course of a discussion like this. But yeah, products of societies degrade naturally. And then Crow was doing some stuff, and this would have been a couple of years ago now, I'm assuming. It seems recent and fresh in my mind, but about like comparing this realm to a battery. And I know some of y'all know this is just basic shit. Like maybe this is half of what Santos talks about. I have no idea, you know. But, so I won't. And see, Keith has this tendency to sort of have to highly suspect, not word wizard, to where he needs to sort of encapsulate the entire concept. I'm going to put enough out there to show y'all that I know enough. We'll figure out if we're talking about the same thing or not. And some folks will be like, "Oh, okay, maybe they will be interested enough to look into it." Yeah, something about a battery, like making a comparison between this realm operating as a battery and then what happens electrically, like from an electrical engineering standpoint, within a battery as it does what? Heckle bus degrades naturally, which is natural. That's built into what these things are. So when I incarnated into the realm in this form, you know, the degradation that's built in a way, right? That's part of the whole thing. Is it a closed system? I don't know. I'm not in any way set up for physics or any of the natural sciences really necessarily, but I guess I kind of am in a way. You know, I am that in a way. You know, my whatever this is, this energy sphere is doing those things as far as I can tell, right? Calculus, high level physics, and all these things. But it doesn't mean that I, you know, can fucking uh, uh, Goodwill Hunting, you know, the janitor. Oh, the janitor's the smartest motherfucker of all time here. Yeah, of course he is. You know, humans, we respond to those kind of tales, right? We can't resist that sort of juxtaposition, if I'm using that term correctly. Probably not. There's probably a much better word for it. So, oh, Benton's got this vocabulary. Yeah, I do, but some people send me to the dictionary. Perhaps one of the reasons why I fanboy Paul Enslaves to some extent, because he does occasionally, Word Wizard also does occasionally send me to a dictionary. Although Word Wizard is a little different thing. Yeah. This is, yeah, exactly. See, some folks just know this stuff. Like, this is what I mean, man. I'm not one of the big brains in these streets. I know that. Hopefully other folks know that. So yeah, he's exactly electrolysis. So when I get upset with highly suspect sometimes because he's not thinking enough to encapsulate certain ideas, you know, I must, if I'm going to challenge him on that basis, I must allow Word Wizard to challenge me. So now it's like, yes, electrolysis, sir. Did you at least learn the fucking basic terminology? Yes, I can and I will. How about that? And maybe I won't. Maybe a year from now, somebody will be like, hey, you said you were going to learn all that stuff. Yeah, I said that. I said I was going to learn all kind of legal stuff I never had. Maybe I'm changed my mind. I don't know. Maybe I could train myself not to speak, you know, in that terminology, right? And then is this the end of privacy? So like as I watch the white car, it's, you know, it's not all dark colored, but as I watch the white squad car go by Fort Smith City PD, you know, I think is this the end of privacy? Because here I am lit up, sitting in, you know, people just drive by but most people aren't necessarily going to look this way. You know, they might happen to look this way, right? Like I'm not in the area of focus necessarily. But then I'm starting to see vehicles parked like across the way, which may or may not be related to what I'm doing. Now that's a night spot, so that makes sense that people would be there. And then that's the, you know, Cloud9 fucking tobacco shop, and maybe there's been break-ins and it's just a detective sitting over there doing his paperwork. I don't really care. But then I'm on a live stream, so talk about the end of privacy. So hypothetically, you know, especially if these Stingray boxes are a thing, and I'm certain they have those here. Come on, I'm 100% certain. I'm confident enough to bet money that they have them here in operation. If not the city directly, when they talk about the Marshall's Museum being here and all of that. Yeah. So maybe it's not the city owning and operating and installing, but I guarantee you they're getting kicked data from it. I promise you they have access to the data. It's the same thing, right? It's effectively the same thing. Now we get into like plausible deniability, right? But yeah, electrolysis. Thank you. That's a battery, right? But again, I'm not. You know, I know just enough to be dangerous here. You know, and that's, you know, obviously not literal. Make literal again. By the way. Yeah, I can speak in disclaimers if I need to as well. I can. Right. But thanks, so Wizard. And this is why Wizard, in spite of the fact that I dislike certain aspects, but I know a lot of people dislike various aspects of my presentment, which is why we see much of the time people aren't even really trying to come up on panel. They're sort of trying to pick their spots. Oh, he seems kind of vulnerable right now, so I'm going to hit the link, right? Which is fair play, right? That's all fair play. But, I understand those dynamics as well. But yeah, the fact that a person actually has taken the time, energy, and effort to put a bunch of knowledge in their head, even if that part now means that they are looking for any opportunity to sort of flex their knowledge, right? Like, I get that. Maybe that can be off-putting in a way. So what? I need access to the people who like to talk about ideas, right? I'm seeing more in the CBO sphere that while those are folks who understand a lot of ideas and certainly are very comfortable dealing in the realm of ideas, their entertainment, but by the way, this is entertainment. This is all under the heading of entertainment. So put that at the top. I don't ever want that to be misunderstood. Now, can we have right under entertainment? We have over here edutainment in air quotes, like quotation marks. Sure, that's fine, but it's still entertainment. As long as we understand that the edutainment is not under education, it's under entertainment, and we actually don't have an education anywhere. We're squarely under entertainment. That's what I'm doing here. I'm never not doing entertainment here. I'm never not performing entertainment, taking in entertainment, seeking my own amusement. That's 100% of what I'm doing here. I want that made clear. Other folks may be doing other things. That has nothing to do with me, unless it does. How about you? Yeah. So, and I have just enough, the lack of IQ can't keep me from listening to a Crow 777 talking about batteries and all of these things, and then making certain connections to the realm itself. I have enough ability to access, abstract thinking and interface with concepts abstractly. I can follow along, right? And I think it seems to me like everybody has those aspects of their brain, right? I think the autists, so-called, the autists maybe can access that a little more readily. It's a clearer, straighter path maybe to that part of the brain. I don't know. Provo Kid seems to have that. I'm not calling JFK Beta an autistic person, but he seems to have that. I know Yurt certainly has it. Obviously not calling him that either. But, and again, what are we talking about with autism or so-called autism spectrum disorders? I don't have any disorders, including autism. So when I say, so I want to be clear. What I'm talking about is what would have used to be Asperger's. And see, it's interesting that I'm diagnosing myself on some level, not with the disorder, but now we get into autism spectrum disorder. So, I'm not even really willing to say I have anything classified as a disorder. So I'm even sort of playing with these ideas that I'm probably not willing to identify with that. But you see how they actually got rid of the Asperger's. So that's kind of maybe I'm willing to say, okay, well, that makes sense for me. But then, okay, now later, the DSM-5 or whatever, they just get rid of. Now there is no Asperger's, however we pronounce it. I mean, y'all are aware of that, right? Hopefully everybody knows that. So I think that was sort of, did the system play a trick on me in a way where that was kind of my foray into sort of saying, okay, I will sort of just identify with autism as far as, I do seem to exhibit some of these behaviors. But then also in my examination, I'm realizing, oh, well, these are all normal behaviors. So there's a group of behaviors that are all well within the normal range for a human. We've just lumped them we put them in a basket and we're calling them autism. I'm doing a lot of air quotes today. Like that's what that is. Yeah, exactly. Thank you. And I like this 3 a.m. on a Sunday morning. This is great, man. This is the off hours of the off hours. Like this is my jam, right? I feel like I can cook something up to where it's like 15 of you might want to go try to find something else to do. How many of those 15 probably need to go to sleep? I mean, the radio cliche, the talk radio cliche of I'm driving and listening intently. I get to where I'm going And now I must just stay in my car unless I have to go in immediately. Sometimes the person has to. Now I'm like I got to hear this. That's kind of the way I look at it. If I can keep some number of folks engaged, uh, even though I know like half of the people are realistically just doing some version of listening to the sound of my voice, I also do that, right? Because again, we are virtually all of us, I would say. I can't speak for anybody else, but virtually all of us are necessarily, coping with our sky high levels of social isolation. They were sky high before the fake pandemic, which clearly exacerbated many of those aspects within society. And I believe this is where I can uh, be useful in some ways, even to a broader audience than this broadcast. And this is a vlog. I mean, let's call it what it is. It's me vlogging, but with certain other elements added to it. The fact that I'm more or less allergic to taboo, and I see the inherent benefit in just talking about certain issues. I know just enough to sort of know which points to hit. The sociology, the psychology, a little bit of anthropology, right? Tied into my own personal experience, stir it up a little bit. This is not fucking rocket science. Exactly. Thank you, Woody. Thank you, sir. And I think, to toot my own horn a little bit, I will say probably some of what gets construed as authenticity or honest. Some people are just like, oh, he just tells it like it is, or it's honest. It's like, I'll be friends with pretty much any type of person. Like, it's not, some people are just like, oh, I can't stand that type of person, right? I've had friends, but it's temporary, right? And it's all temporary. It's all impermanent. That the whole thing's temporary, right? So you say, I'm already starting to feel like I need to classify, well, how close was the relationship? Blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, that was my friend. If you asked them, they would have said, yeah, that's my friend Jason, and that was my friend such and such for that place in that time for that place and time. And I'm realizing I did not accidentally throw the flashlight away from Walgreens, because I'm 100% certain I had the thing in that stupid outside pocket at the library when I walked out of the bathroom when I first got there. Because I remember visually, looking down at it was there. Because I almost pulled it out and was like, oh, I could test it in here. But then I was like, if I accidentally bounce 4,000 lumens off the mirror into my eyes, that's going to be a very, very bad time. That might cause actual debilitation. God, I missed the chance to blast that motherfucker with 4,000 lumens, though. And to borrow a line from Pulp Fiction or, Quentin Tarantino, it almost would have been worth him doing what he did, just if I would have been ready to hit him with the 4,000 lumens, like when dude talked about keying his car getting keyed, his pride and joy when he was in Amsterdam, John Travolta's character. It was almost worth him doing what he did, right? It almost would have been worth him doing what he did. Almost. And then that self-defense scenario downtown kind of gets into actual, issues around death. I think sort of what RT was trying to ask me about in his own way. I think just the broader topic of death, and that gentleman, showing his gentleman, but this is that scumbag criminal lowlife trash. To be clear, he showed that he's probably dealt with death and probably fairly comfortable with his own potential impending demise. I bet that fella's fully accepted his mortality. What do you think? And I realize sometimes the audience checking out is, now I'm remembering that I started to address some topics back here on the back burner, and it's like, is there a smaller thing happening, and then am I ever in my better times when in the past when I've had fuller access to my faculties, let's put it that way, I've been able to do that, and then more and more my abilities to and this certainly makes it much, much worse. It's not the cause, clearly. Yeah, problem solving, man. That was one of my favorite things about living in the streets with almost nothing, living out of a backpack, traveling, sleeping rough. Is it's a never-ending series of problem solving, Roy, and I enjoy that as long as it's not as stressful and forced, and just as long as I'm able to take my time and
do it in my own way. I enjoy the problem solving aspect. Right? And I was trying to make a broader point earlier about how it kind of makes sense that it seems like, I don't know that the larger truth community is necessarily comprised of autists so-called. But it seems like our groups here, if that's a thing, or whoever the 800 something people who tend to come here on a regular basis, according to the analytics, right around 900 people. But in a month it'll be like 1,500 uniques, so-called, or discrete users rather. You know, that may only be people who are actually logged in. I'm not sure how they do that. So yeah, it's like 900 people. So that's pretty cool. I would consider that the audience size on a revolving basis anyway. On a monthly revolving basis, about 800 to 900 would be the audience. Yeah, it's interesting, man. Interesting dynamic. Yeah, I did ask downstairs, Roy, but see, then we get into human dynamics around uh, emotional labor. People can try to perform emotional labor for me around just whatever emotional state I must be in around having lost my item. That's now at least important enough that I'm back here asking for it, right? So, I've been in a space of, oh man, I left my Nalgene water bottle in the Walmart, in the Starbucks, one of the two Starbucks bathrooms on State Street in Santa Barbara, the higher one, the one farther away from the ocean. And it's been 5 minutes and it's not in there, and somebody could have turned it in, but probably another homeless person just fluked up on a Nalgene water bottle. So whatever state I'm in, it's more of, to me, I tend to just be resigned to, well, Nalgene water bottle was so useful to me 100% of the time that day, or at the latest the next day, I will be at the store with $10 at the time, plus whatever applicable taxes. And I'm buying a fucking 1 liter Nalgene water bottle without question. So that's how that works. So it's like, same thing with the flashlight. If it had been my mag light, which I never lost, and sometimes I had different ones over time, but I never actually just lost it and didn't have it, right? But it would just be like, all right, I guess next time I got $20, it's off to the Walmart to get another mini mag light. It's just how that goes, right? Especially tent camping down by the river. Candle mode alone was indispensable. I would have it. If the quality hadn't become completely unacceptable, I would still have a mini mag light, certainly. But dude, and I am a type of person, I'm so cheap that a lot of this stuff that's badass, part of the reason why I like my Nissan Versa is I've never truly subjected myself to like newer, higher end cars. I did drive a bunch of 2018s at Hertz when I worked at Hertz there at the airport, for a third party though, but Hertz was the company. But sometimes I got to take those out on the road and get them up to like 45 or maybe 50. It's mostly just low speed driving and getting to see I hate that overcomplicated the cockpit. I hate that shit. Now, I've been in Volvos and Mercedes, and like some cars, it's just we're already that way, and now it's just to a exponentially worse, right? But most of my cars have been fairly simple on the inside. Most. I prefer that shit, man. Part of me is glad I never really exposed myself to that on the daily. Although the big rig, the 18-wheeler is certainly just stuff everywhere. That I like, because that's completely different, specialized. There are many more things in heaven and earth than are described by our philosophy. I love that, Woody. Well, because I don't describe myself as a philosopher, but I certainly am to some extent. But the level of attainment, I'm not sure is ever really certainly nothing worthy of. I must put this on paper and give this. The people must have this, right? I mustn't deprive the masses of this, right? I don't think I'm ever going to get there philosophically. That's interesting. Yeah, man, I've done my version of that. That sucks. And I'm a pull the Band-Aid off kind of guy. Like, yeah, I'm feeling some type of way, but I just tell them, I'm like, look, man, I don't know how any other way to say this than I just hit them with it. It's like, I don't have that beating around the bush. I'm not wired for that beating around the bush. I'm just like, hey, man, but I will like at least give them that, like, brace yourself. The only way I know how to do this is you're getting both barrels right here, right now. So here, strap in. And, you know, as much as I have no desire to be the person who would inform someone like their loved ones passed away, I would be good at it. Meaning, I think I would never expect any credit, but I think some of the folks would probably appreciate it. Well, at least because I'm sure some people actually manage to make it worse somehow, which seems fucking possible to me. But, you know, yeah. But I know if my loved one's gone, I don't want. I personally, and this we get into the golden rule, right? Like we all respond differently to different things. I would just want to be told. I don't want to miss me with the emotional labor and trying to placate my feelings. Miss me with that because y'all don't. I don't even know what the fuck I'm feeling. How the hell are y'all gonna know? I don't know. Maybe y'all do know. I don't. I ain't gonna run out of the room, but that shit kind of freaks me out when other people want to. And now we're so far afield now. When I'm getting into it, well, he was getting into it with me to be correct, but the fucking help at the Walmart's getting lippy. I mean, that's what it is. One day the fucking the help, and I say that because my family, you know, my dad owned and operated a small business more or less the entire time I was growing up, and yeah, see, actual police work, by the way. And I've said that to cops before. Yeah, actual police work, although they might be headed my way. You know, of course, I did refer to my vape as maybe having intoxicating effects. I did do that on a live stream. I was aware of it in the moment, thinking, well, now I'm publicly again the end of privacy, and that was the larger point I never made. That probably some of the folks were wishing that I had. You know that they might be coming by yet again. I know they're hitting me with the light. One of them hit me with the light when he drove by. Of course, that's fair play. And I have urinated down there. And I mentioned this on one of the live streams downtown. I said this because it was so challenging. I literally had to climb up into a bush to piss downtown. I said this whole thing is set up for if the cops want to go fuck with people, they're going to go fuck with people for pissing in public. That's the type of shit that don't fly around here. So when he really didn't even light me up, I'm already lit up. He lit up that side area where I could, and they know they're not dumb, where I might go over there and piss, right? If I'm hanging out over here. Yeah. That, because it's, again, I know their tactics if I'm observing them. And then I'm also seeing, okay, they don't behave this way like they do in other parts of the country. But in other parts of the country, it can be very difficult the cops aren't looking for people pissing in public for the most part. Like the people getting in trouble for that are really just, it's fucking public indecency, or they're exposing themselves. They're just getting lumped in with that, right? Now they're looking for people pissing here if they're wanting to jam me up, right? Which, believe me, this is damn near Oklahoma, y'all. In Oklahoma, I got pulled over, wasn't even speeding, and they wrote me a nice car ticket, not too far from here in Oklahoma. So it is that environment, like, hey, you know, if they catch me back there taking a piss in the pitch black and happen to light me up, yeah, it may not be I have to register type of shit, but it'll be some version of a ticket. Might cuff and stuff, you never know. Yeah, we are the technology. Exactly. We live it. You're right. And I realize that, you know, I resigned myself to that, or won't even say resign myself to it. I just don't see strategically there can't be a benefit to me to not just be like, yeah, you're right. I've been assimilated. Fuck. I skipped the step where I'm like, well, I don't want to. It doesn't feel good to realize that I've allowed myself to become assimilated in certain ways by the Borg. And that, again, that's humorous and tongue in cheek. But I come across as if I mean that seriously, but I kind of do. It's deadly serious. You know, it's very serious on a certain level, right? And then we get into the multi-layered and multifaceted. You know, that's how these things are. Almost all of these concepts and all of these experiences, just this is all multi-layered and multifaceted and interwoven. And as much as our brain seeks the zero and the one, and the binaries. And part of, I think, some folks become annoyed with some of my discourses is, whatever, they have some emotional energy around me generalizing and me utilizing binary thinking for specific, but I'm doing it in specific ways. I'm not doing it unilaterally across the board, but I think it feels like it to people. And then now we're back to the lack of trust. Can the audience, trust me to deliver something of an at least intelligent at the level of being able to write a university level paper? That's all I'm talking about here, folks, is I can, in my better moments, more or less speak at the level of if I sat down and wrote a paper and turned it into there's a 4-year university in this town, turned it into whatever professor for whatever I'm happen to be writing on. Yes, I can write an A paper. As early as tomorrow, I can be ready to turn in an A paper to a university professor. To me, that's not impressive. It's just, that's a thing that some people can do, right? But so if the listener is willing to accept that, yeah, Benton will also speak at that level at his best, but I will also lapse and I will fall away from that into just, various things beneath that, obviously. Various vulgarities and coarse language and such. All sorts of things. Then where can I be trusted then, to operate and to perform in certain ways? For a lot of folks, the answer is no. I can't be trusted. Kim, and shout out to Kim. We probably just, I have personality conflicts with a lot of people, right? And I understand it's not just them, right? It's my personality and their personality are clashing, right? But he seems to trust me somewhat. Him mocking and ridiculing me at every turn, seemingly. That's separate from. He does seem to exhibit some level of trust towards me, I would say. Now, maybe it's not much, but it's more than the 0 we started at, from my perception. I mean, it's what I was perceiving. Keith, we're at a very low level, but then Keith seems to be experiencing. He's so sensitive and vulnerable, seemingly, but not protecting himself from my fucking sharp, very sharp, and I can get in there and very quickly, right? Which is that in my intention? I would say it doesn't matter if that's my intention. It's his job to protect himself from the. That's his job, irrespective of my intention. I think some of these more sensitive, vulnerable types, I think that's a poor strategy, probably based on their own lack of introspection. Sort of bring us around to earlier part of the discourse is that, can they get outside of themselves in a third body, almost in an out of body experience? I don't see it, but I experience it as like a video game, first person. Now I'm in it. Okay, let's pull out what they call third person in the video game. Now, the observer's now here, right? And if I know that I'm in fact the observer watching, this incarnation, this being, this discrete being, arguably discrete being, Benton, that we refer to as Benton, if I am the thing that's observing that, well, certainly I can, in various times, in various ways, go to like a third person, and now I'm observing, right? So if Keith were to observe, oh, that's right. Keith sees that most folks could see potentially that most folks have a fucking shell in front of them, some version of a defense, right? To varying degrees. Some people have so much that it's like preventing them from actually moving forward in their lives, right? And then some folks, well, maybe Benton, that's his chip on his shoulder in a way, right? In a way, but then I'm also ready to, at any moment, to the shield's gone, and now I'm fucking on the attack, right? That's a whole nother, but I'm ready to go back shields up, obviously. That's some version of a spiritual warrior in this. Seems like most folks are willing to accept that, in fact, we were all born into some version of a spiritual warrior, on many levels, if not all levels, the Kabbalion, again, as above, so below type of ideas. Yeah, I've interacted and still do to some extent with various ideas that would be associated with the occult, right? So yeah, certainly never went full fucking hog on that, but been down some of them paths to varying degrees. Hey, there you go. No. You know, why shouldn't the professor type, which I am that to some extent, and how many times have I been in a library uh, on a table like this, right? Except it wasn't a picnic table. As you see these picnic tables, it was just a table in a library, and it's Benton. And Benton's reading he's got 3 books, right? They're all open. One of them's upside down, keeping his place. And he's got a stack of, I'm not exaggerating. This is how I study for the most part. When I've been studying, you know, 5 days a week for months at a time, and then there's like a stack of notebooks that are full of my own writing, by the way. Since I'm a lefty, I tend to get the tall ones with the spiral at the top. So it's not a full size, but you just know what I'm saying. I'm writing fucking uppercase. And so when I find a portion of the written material that I really jibes with me, right, I tend to copy the entire, paragraph, or maybe 2 paragraphs, or maybe 3 paragraphs. I just write it into the notes, right? So yeah, I got a stack of notebooks like this. I got probably a couple of notebooks, and I'm a lefty, so, but right, and I'm reading this, I'm making notes here. I'm like, oh, that's right, this other thing, and now I'm going back to the other book because I'm visual that way. Now, it's not. I understand that a lot of folks are allergic to that because we've forgotten. I think a lot of us, especially back to Word Wizards talking about the introspection. A lot of folks aren't aware that they experience a lot of anxiety, trepidation, fear, loathing around anything that in any way hints towards a formalized educational setting with a desk, a chair, a notebook, writing utensils, and books. Well, I'm drawn to that. I go right to it. And in fact, sometimes it's not present, and I create it for myself in my life, right? Like really. So I'm at home. And I consider that research. So some folks, that's not research. So some folks, it's research is whatever goes into writing one of those 3 books. My version of research is I'm learning and studying and I'm, all of these things all at one time and over a consistent time. And then now I'm integrating the material into my being. And now I'm affirming various aspects through my own direct experience. And then whatever doesn't pertain to me just gets discarded. It negates itself. And that's what I've been critical of the CBO crew, that a lot of them seem to put a lot of their energy into the negative form of attempting to negate ideas, if only for their own amusement, which is fine if they amuse themselves through the attempting to negate my assertions and my ideas simply based on enjoying how I act or react or don't react, because to not react is also a reaction. When I learned poker, when I learned how to intentionally exhibit certain physical traits, right, which are very, at the lower levels of the game, it's very useful, right? For the higher level players, everything has to be much, much more subtle. But at the low levels, I can overtly, just sort of be performing an act, right? It's I would argue that intelligence. So when people say, well, clearly Benton is highly intelligent, I'm not necessarily willing to disagree. What I say is I don't have a high IQ, which is a very specific thing. But if I am highly intelligent, this is the way I'm highly intelligent: is being able to interface with with almost unlimited number of abstract concepts. And I think the Popo may actually be sneaking up on me potentially. Although they do use this parking lot to some extent, they'll just sit in the parking lot. But I think one of them just creeped up. Almost certain, actually. Now, is he on the street or did he pull in? Or did he come? Did he literally drive all the way behind this and he's been on this property the whole time? No, he's still on the road. Definitely. Oh, that was a sheriff, though. Yeah. And again, I'm all for actual police work. Yeah, patrol. But then this is where community policing comes from. It's the idea that most of the citizens only ever see us as just from the shoulders up. Literally, they see us in our car or don't, depending on the level of, this would have been years ago. Now maybe some of them have such tinted windows you don't even see them, right? But that was the basis for community policing, or one of the basic foundation is to get the cop to where at least now the human is, even if the conversation itself isn't to any purpose necessarily, at least bottom, minimum, they see this as, oh, it's and anthropomorphically, it's a human being. Right? This is how basic some of this stuff is, irrespective of what may or may not come out of the if it ever rises to the level of an actual back and forth between two human beings, which may never happen. Yeah, Woody says it is very mysterious how some problems cannot be solved by thinking in them. And by the way, now we're getting into assertive versus feminine, but I know you know that, Woody. This is me going to a basic level, right? In part based on my own lack of what is formally known as IQ. I'm not saying I'm not intelligent. I know I'm intelligent. I'm smart as fuck. I know that. I don't need y'all to tell me. But not in that specific way. That's the point. Yeah. I'm smart as fuck since day one, but very dumb in certain ways also. Literally, my metaphorical engine, the timing is retarded. That's literal. Make literal again. Yeah, no hyperbole. Really, when I say literal, I mean no hyperbole. I've been saying that for years. But yeah, when I say literal, I actually mean the negative form, no hyperbole. So now we just get into how proficient is the being in just the yin and the yang. As much as the yin and yang itself is seemingly ethereal and nebulous, as a truth necessarily must be, right? As I would say that truth is manifest, or another way of saying truth is alive or living. Yeah, probably time. It is 3:22, by the way. 3:22 a.m. And I don't think it's a coincidence, by the way, that I see that and we know all of this is encoded, and I think it has to be encoded. I think especially if you look at science, now there mathematicians, at least one mathematician claims to have proven that the realm is constructed of computer code, but then sort of the meme of, well, yeah, if one goes around looking for computer code, well, yeah, one finds computer code. Well, yeah, that makes sense also. But if I'm willing to accept that everything is vibrating energy, and in fact it's my mind, almost as an antenna or whatever, we're all very familiar with these concepts. So there's no reason for me to fully describe them highly suspect. See, they know what I mean, and that is abstraction, by the way. If anybody's confused when I say that I'm adept at dealing in abstractions within my own mind, that is an abstraction, highly suspect. It's for me to reference the concept. That is the abstraction. Highly suspect probably used to have, and hopefully it's still in there. Maybe he needs to get back in touch with it. The ability to also deal with these concepts. He understands it well enough to explain it. Therefore, he absolutely has the ability to refer to it. And that is an abstraction. When he knows what he means, and he trusts that the audience will also, through abstraction, know what he means, and then refers to the larger concept, and then moves on in making his greater point, that is to intelligently utilize abstraction. And a lot of folks can't do that. Or if they can, they've never developed the ability. Some folks, no matter what, and these are probably your more sensor feeler types, for those who want to talk about the MBTI. And I want to say this, as somebody who spent a lot of time with the MBTI, there's no letters, man. There's no, well, I have a strong J, and that doesn't work, man. It's a function stack. When y'all go to talking letters, that shit means nothing with respect to now I'm not saying that has no meaning. I'm saying you're creating a new if that represents a theory type system, personality, if it's a personality type system, and it's theoretical, when people go to talking all them letters, man, that person's inventing a new theory system, which is completely fine. I have no problem with that. But it's now no longer INTJ and all of this, although they're free to take those concepts and create something new. Of course they are. What's up, Snafu? Once again, Snafu checking out. Good to see you. No, it's a function stack. Oh, they got them pulled over here. See? Yep.
And I have to remember when I'm driving around it, like if I'm driving to downtown and back at these hours, that I could be viewed by law enforcement, somebody, especially on a weekend, right, who might be driving under the influence. And I certainly would not encourage drunk driving, but one of the major ways that a person who does manage to do that, regardless of how we may view it, um, certainly that person thinks it's pretty shitty, but don't drive when it's dark would be the number one way to avoid DUI. Is it dark outside? Yes. Do not drive, and just always follow that. Right? Is it about to be dark? I'm leaving. It's going to be dark before I return. Is it going to be dark before you return? Yes or no? The answer is yes. Do not drive. Just that, most folks. Now, some folks we see on these body cam videos, some folks manage to do it in the daytime. That typically involves crashing. And I never crashed. Well, that's not true. One time I did, but that's a whole nother story. Nobody was injured. No other vehicles involved. But yeah, fence took some damage, which I then paid for. Believe it or not. No, I made arrangements. In making arrangements to reimburse or make the property owner whole, they said, "Oh, don't worry about it." They saw how much trouble I went to track them down, and they said, "Nah, we're good. Thanks, though. Appreciate you coming down here." And I was going to give them the money. Actually, I was going to arrange to have it fixed because I'm not trying to just hand them some cash if I don't have to. Got to get the best deal I can, right, on this fence repair. Oh, wow. I got to find the bathroom, though. No, I can't go over there anymore. Probably just stand in the middle of this field. Insomnia. Well, I've been to sleep, corporate fiction, but now maybe it would make sense though if this is insomnia media. Then, it would make sense that the broadcaster's already had a night's sleep. He goes to bed almost maniacally early, and that's when I actually make it to my planned bedtime of typically around 6:30. Although I make myself in the summer stay up to like 8 or 8:30 sometimes. Because there is something to that, the sun and all that, as far as I'm concerned. The fucking circadian rhythms. But just getting some sunlight in the eyeballs in the early part of the day, that seems to be something to that. I hear about some of these things here and there, and it seems to be something to that. I do that more days than I don't. Some point before 10 a.m. I'll manage to find my way outside, put a little bit of sunlight into my eyeballs. And remember, folks, if you wear glasses, you got to take the glasses off. At least, look over the top of them. Because most of these got the UV blocking. And I think that's hurt my health. Just that. Because my first glasses, actually like my first two pairs, I think I insisted on no UV. Is that even possible? I mean, who knows? I don't even know if that's even possible to get one without. But I at least was like, I don't want that shit. I don't want that shit. And maybe they just told me I wasn't going to get it, and then I just got it. Like, I really don't know. What do you say? And everybody going places in groups. See, they probably don't know each other, but they might, but probably don't. But it's more often than not, it's just folks going places in groups. And I don't, my life is me going places by myself. Even when I was going places in groups, and apologies if the wind noise is getting bad. Let me know. I can unplug this. I can actually unplug the shotgun mic real quick. Yeah, I don't know how windy this now I'm just on the lavalier, so I have no idea if that's picking up the wind or not. I can't call it. Maybe the shotgun mic with the dead cat, maybe it doesn't, and maybe it might be the lav picking it up. I don't know. I'll let y'all tell me, I guess. Just if it's heavy wind noise or whatever. Because I obviously can't hear it since I'm not monitoring the output of the mixer. And if these are shaky, I don't know, man. I don't really want a GoPro or whatever, an action camera, but apparently the image stabilization, and this is effectively no image stabilization other than the actual thing I'm holding on to. But apparently the action cameras do pretty good with that. The image stabilization, which makes sense, of course. Why wouldn't they? Tried to scream. Sleep paralysis. Uh-oh. Rachel Zinger had the sleep paralysis. I'm trying to dip off here and use the restroom. Yeah, and then I've been looking at phones maybe to upgrade the broadcast at least slightly, but I think just this phone happens to have a halfway decent selfie camera compared to a lot of phones. So might just roll with this thing. Although I'm still thinking about the going with the ultra wideband, but I can actually get this phone, but a Verizon 5G ultra wideband. They're cheap, man. You got renewed ones like $90 or something. It's kind of crazy. It's technically a better phone. What's up with that? And I'm on Verizon, so why not? Go to some of these downtowns and see if that makes a difference for the live streams or not. All right, be right back, folks. BRB. Ah, Mr. Baxter, what you're neglecting to address is that there's two types of people in the board, sir. Those who can listen to wind noise on a video, and those who cannot listen to wind noise on a video. So if I'm watching a video and heavy wind noise comes, I don't watch any more of the video. And I know that, and this is the Autism Speaks portion. So I know if I do that, some portion of the audience does that as well. So the goal is not acceptable levels of wind noise. The goal is no wind noise under any circumstances. But you know, with these style of microphones, that's virtually impossible. So if I can temporarily unplug one of them and I know that it won't cause somebody like me to leave the broadcast, right, then I will do that. That's the goal. But yeah, some portion of the audience will, in some, you know, some portion will just, there's nothing can bother them. Nothing will get them away. Right. They'll just plow right through it. And then people like me, as soon as I hear it and I see, well, they're in a desert, so clearly the wind noise is going to continue, I just go do something else. It's like, well, I'm not listening to this. But then here I am with my fingers. I'm stopping the broadcast with my fingers in the ears because there's a loud motorcycle and it's bouncing off of all these surfaces into my eardrums, right? So sensory, issues around sensory. Certain things bother me. Shoes on a hard floor. It's always just fucking makes my skin crawl. I can't. It's like, again, it's not ADD. It's the opposite. It's like too much focus. I'm just like, while it's happening, it's like that's all I can focus on. It's like, make it stop. But then I also understand feeding into that makes it more intense. So I'm not. So as I'm experiencing that, I'm not identifying with that, with the experience. If that makes sense, because I know the more strongly I identify with it, the more intense it actually is. It's like a strategy. Still sucks though. But yeah, just walking around, see all my whatever joint pain I was dealing with. You know, presumably whatever water I drank this morning, and then just moving around. You know, oh, and now urinating. Yeah, probably got rid of whatever that was, man. But wasn't fun for this morning. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, certain stuff doesn't bother me at all. In fact, the actual fingernails on the chalkboard never really bothered me. Now that I think about it, which is, I guess, because that's an overt thing. Maybe, I don't know. It's the stuff that's out of nowhere is the worst, though. Like the CB, I can't do disembodied voice out of nowhere, and it drives me nuts when I go into a store and they're like, "Hello," you know, because they're forced to fucking greet people. Hello, just the disembodied voice out of nowhere. I hate that shit. And half these morons trying to ask me for money. This is disembodied voice out of nowhere. Like, bro, if you really want something from me, let's not start out by. And that's actually happened to me on. I did those daytime. They're on my StreamYard. I failed. I need to I need to stream them to my YouTube channel. Then I can show them to y'all. Maybe if I ever get on decent internet. All I know is whatever veggies I've been eating, I seem to be processing as far as I can tell. But who knows? Whether what I've absorbed, I'm not absorbing fully any of my food. So but at this point, I'm just, what if it works, great. If not, get rid of it. I'm personally losing interest in the rest of it. But I understand why it's so complicated, and there's so many different aspects to be addressed, right? And you know, what are we going to talk about otherwise? I've been live for an hour and a half. It's just now the start time. It's 9 minutes. I was supposed to start 9 minutes ago. I've been going for an hour and a half. Yeah. I think it's time to take a real quick pause and maybe get out of this wind, maybe. It's swirling. And but yeah, now I've really been thinking about that with Highly Suspect, because he is good on, believe it or not, I know it hasn't been showing it lately, between the tech issues and just his whatever he's got going on. And some of that is just, it's got to be, you know, I know he's been through some pretty serious stuff with the having to go to the doctors and the hospitals and stuff. Maybe some substance. Look, I'm trying to maintain. I'm trying not to. I'm just saying, it seems to me that could be the case, and I'm basing that solely on my observation in the real world. So it's not an accusation. Lord knows I have had mine. Alcohol. That is a substance that I abuse, certainly, but very strongly abused. It's technically drug abuse, just because society doesn't chooses to. Oh, it's a liquid and it's in a different. You put it in a different category. As far as my body's concerned, that's heavy drug abuse. Yeah, ask my organs. Have they been subjected to heavy drug abuse? See what they tell you. I don't think they'll be trying to say, well, alcohol, it's licensed, it's socially acceptable. I don't think they're going to go down that path. I expect. Yeah, and see, thank you, It's called the secret. Because every time I bring up carnivore or something to just regular people, we're so conditioned against fat because of people being overweight. Almost every time I bring up something like carnivore or whatever, they're like, oh yeah, high protein diet. And sometimes people bring up carnivore and it's always, yeah, high protein diet, because they associate that with health. But nobody associates a high fat diet with health. But I always correct them. I'm like, no, it's not a high fat, it's not a high protein diet. It's a high fat diet with a lot of protein necessarily because of the nature of the tissue, whatever's actually being consumed. Right? It's a high fat diet. And if you have 100 grams of fat and 100 grams of protein, there's more calories in the 100 grams of fat. Therefore, it's a high fat diet. The one thing it's highest in, if people do it correctly, is fat. That's where the bulk of the calories are coming from. It's not the protein. But yeah, the body will, under certain circumstances, apparently, it will break down the it will convert the amino acids into sugar, apparently, or something the body would be able to use as sugar. Rather, I'm not formally trained in any of this. It's my understanding of it. And see, some of my hunger and stuff is that the cannabis does affect blood sugar. Because realistically, some of my hunger, it's been like not appropriate to the amount of food my body knows it can eat without starting to have my fucking feet go numb. Like it's happening again now that I stopped moving. And definitely more walking would help me a lot. I bet that was propping me up for years too. Just the heavy, every day, man, miles and miles and miles every day with the pack. So, yeah. Truck driving, man. That shit all ended when I went truck driving. Yeah, lean carnivore. Yeah, animal fat is great for you, especially if you're a man. So surprise, surprise, in the this realm, that's in part a war on testosterone and a war on men and a war on people. A war on your testicles, Gary Baxter. There's a war on for your nutsack, in a way. So yeah. Dietary cholesterol from animals and eggs, which is from animals. Nobody, you can't debate this. Now, some people can. The fact is, will some folks, maybe have a higher incidence of certain like heart disease and so and colon cancer and all that. You're probably, especially if you look at, it's not like we're getting the fucking best of the best, most of us, and I do tend to agree with people who say that, meat out of the supermarket's fine. I tend to agree, but we know, that the animals themselves are having chemicals added to them. I mean, we know that, but so of course some of that's in the material. So, in a way, we're doing the best. If that's the best diet for that person, and if that's the best level of that
food that they can access, I mean, it's sort of out of their hands at that point, it seems to me. So. And again, this is all in the framework of being juxtaposed against the standard American diet, which involves multiple weekly trips to fast food. Okay. Under what I'm talking about, there's never one trip to fast food ever. There's never one sody pop. Right. So, what's our control? What are we comparing to? It's Taco Bell fourth meal. Right? I mean, literally. So, no hyperbole. Right? I'm not willing to live in a fantasy world where the control group is just perfectly above reproach, best of the best possible food going into their body, and then anything you do involving oh my God, it's a Walmart with a fucking produce section. Yeah, I agree. Most of it's fucking garbage. It is. I could not agree more. But doesn't mean that I'm going to go in there and get a fucking mini watermelon that's going to kill me either, right? So I don't know what to tell you. But yeah, I've now chosen to get my fruit and vegetables at other stores. Okay, yeah, it's an improvement. But if the clutch taps out, I'll be walking to this motherfucker right over there, the Walmart, and I'm not gonna let nobody convince me that that's the best I can do. And the actual control group that we're comparing to is multiple trips to fast food every week. You can't tell me that's gonna fucking kill me. I don't believe it. But yeah, it's as GMO'd and as sprayed with chemicals as possible. I'm sure of it. But it's still less bad than trips to fast food. And I know a lot of folks, regardless of what they say on here, are going to fast food. And if I ain't talking to you, I ain't talking to you. And I've eaten a lot of fast food up until when I realized my body can't deal with it no more. So I ain't no better than anybody else either. I'm no better, no worse than any of you. Who cares? Who cares? I don't. No, but boy, I was killing it, Bo. I was killing it in Austin. I have found a kebab place. Oh my God, beef and lamb kebabs. Woo. I'd go in there and get two of them, $10 a piece, the big ones. And God, I would eat them in halves, but they never lasted long, man. I'd go in there truck driving. I'd bobtail up in there, park on the fucking street. They had a cart downtown though, a food cart. So when I was working and riding the bus, man, I'd be downtown Austin. I'd hit up that cart on my way to go, transport the rental cars all around the parking garage. Gas them up every once in a while, I guess. I guess that was us. Hell, I don't even remember. Oh, the people typically. Yeah, okay, that's what it is. Typically the person responsible for that. But see, I don't remember putting fuel. Huh. Makes sense. Yeah, a rental car return full tank. Then I remember one time, like must have been an event or something, like the F1 must have been in town or something. Like a whole bunch of cars got dropped off all at once, and so the road got like the pathway for more people to come in. There's just like a bunch of people all confused. What do we do? What do we do? So like this black dude that had been there like way longer than me, like he was kind of freaking out. And then I immediately saw like the proper short-term strategy to deal with this that will at least the bottleneck will be cleared in 15 to 20 minutes, right? And during that time, he was acting like I guess he couldn't see what I was gonna accomplish, man. And he was like acting like I was more or less out of my mind and like, what the fuck are you doing, man? I guess because he was in panic mode. And then like 20 minutes later, he finally realized, he was like, oh, like I just basically went and did it all myself. At least made enough of a path where, okay, now we can at least get these out of here and just push them off to the side somewhere. I think maybe he was freaking out because I was putting the cars in the wrong. Those don't go there or whatever. It's like, bro, We can move them more than once, man. I don't know if you know this. Under the right circumstances, I can move it from point A to point B and then to point C. It doesn't have to be point A to point B every time. It's funny how people just get locked into these ways of thinking. But then and then I just tell him what I'm doing. It's like, if you can't see the field play, boy, I can't really help you. You got to be ready when I pass you the rock, partner. I know to go to the rack myself. But yeah, beef and lamb kebabs, man. Oh my God, amazing, amazing. And looking back on it, I was all fucked up and I guess I was just used to being all fucked up on a daily basis. I would just pig out on them things, man. Pig out. Yeah, yeah. But yeah, Americans not so much into the lamb. Mutton? Is that mutton? Or is that sheep? A sheep's a lamb? So we really don't know a lot of this stuff. But you know, we hear about it and oh, it's a European movie. Oh, it's set in Europe. Maybe a novel. Wuthering Heights or something. Or that was probably here. Yeah, I don't even know. Obviously not well versed in literature overall. Sounds like that. Yeah. Pretty much probably have to raise your own, but I think goats are more common. At least in Arkansas, Woody, goats. Number two's dad was into all sorts of stuff like that. And, he had a goat farm, amongst other things. Sometimes the people from Central America, or maybe even Mexico, but probably Central America, would show up and buy a goat for some sort of celebration, a feast or whatever. Kill and butcher the animal for the feast. Right? Ain't nothing wrong with that as far as I'm concerned. Come on. You got the Razorbacks in Arkansas, but a lot of hogs getting slaughtered, I imagine, as well. A lot of hogs getting slaughtered. Forget about it. That's right. Woody says lamb would be his favorite meat. Pressure cook a leg. Yeah, I had a pressure cooker at a certain point. Those seem to be underutilized. Pressure cook a leg to make it tender, then finish it in the oven to get the color. Yeah, make a gravy from the water with stock. Forget about it. Yeah, man, I would eat that, certainly. I think my thing now is with meat and all this is I just have to make sure I don't eat too much at a given time. That's my thing is I've trained myself to overeat through the weightlifting and all that. I got to make sure it's just going to become a discipline. I'm used to just, forcing more or less at one point. Then something about that intense exercise really, I was hungry all the time, man. I don't miss that. I'd be so hungry after, I was lifting heavy every like 3 times a week, lifting heavy for me, right? Again, it's for some folks be like, I thought you said you were lifting heavy, partner. Well, I mean, okay, but for my standards, I was lifting heavy. 10 sets of 3, 5 sets of 5. Indeed. Kroger, man, actually, in my experience, overall, Kroger's got a pretty good meat section, man. It varies from region to region, obviously. They've got that Nolan Ryan at DFW. There's something too. There's actually people who won't put their name. I mean, I'm assuming Nolan Ryan's still alive, but number one in Bentonville, Nolan Ryan came to talk to the kids or whatever. Like he wouldn't even let them call him Nolan and say he's Mr. Ryan. Like that. Something about that. Like he ain't putting his name. If he puts his name on it on the beef, man, it's good. And even their regular stuff. Yeah, I had some of the Nolan Ryan because I would obviously I would stock up as much as I could, on the ribeyes. And I was eating probably 2 ribeyes a day for a long time, man, and 6 eggs typically. I love being able to eat that way. I'm going to do as much of that as my body will take, and I'm probably going to I'm still not going with the cast iron yet. I heard somebody's smoke alarm, so I'm almost like playing that game Emergency, right? Trying to pull the bone out. Like I know I'm going to be engaging in activities at some point that may cause it to start going off. Trying my best, and I don't want to cook steaks outdoors around here between the wind and the dust, because I am known to cook outdoors a lot. In fact, when I told that story about working at the airport in Austin, and then so I'd be waiting for my bus downtown, and then I'd get the kebabs off the food cart there on a Congress, and I'd jump on my 45-minute bus ride to work and hear these people whining and crying, especially on that Caleb Hammer channel. He's like, "It's called the bus. You ride the bus," and they're like, "What?" A lot of folks just they ain't taking public transit. I love public transit. Yeah, it kind of stinks to be sitting there for 45 minutes. Sometimes it's crowded, or weirdos get on, or whatever. But maybe I resemble that remark to some extent. But I know how to ride a bus. But yeah, that's a whole thing. Hour and a half a day, back and forth. One thing I did though, I said I'm not working the days. So when I say while I worked at the airport and went to truck driving school, those two things are true. But I know me, and I said I'm not going to be able to do an hour and a half of bus rides. The truck driving school actually made it worse on those days. In fact, I actually ended up needing to be able to walk there at various times. Some changes in the bus routes and stuff. Like, I think I still got there on the bus, but it was like I need to have the time to be able to just hoof it. I have to the truck driving school at the Goodwill place, or near the Goodwill facility, but International Schools it was called. But yeah, I know me, and I said I'm not working on the days between staying at the homeless shelter, which means I have to have a work pass. I have to have a motherfucking permission slip to come in after curfew as a grown ass man. You want to talk about humility? That's why I get a little irritated with folks sometimes. I say, no, it's not ego. It's lack of humility. Well, I can't be accused of that, as far as some folks have never, ever intentionally chosen to live a type of way that they will be experiencing and directly accessing and interfacing with and experiencing humility. But yeah, as a grown ass man, so I have to be at the right place at the right time for the caseworker to once a week give me my up-to-date work pass, so I can go to my job some nights of the week, and then after riding the bus for an hour and a half, come back into the homeless shelter at 11:30 p.m. to climb into and I'm a top bunk guy. Y'all can go fuck yourselves. I understand maybe in a prison, and I understand there's advantages to if people want to be in the cell all day and they're fucking got their they're going to be tattooing or whatever. Yeah, I understand they want to be able to sit, and I understand they're not going to want anybody else on there, but I get all of that. But I'm getting in the rack and going to sleep, and then when I wake up, I'm getting out of the rack, and I'm not getting back in the rack. I'm not going to be near the rack until we come in. Maybe if it's a day where I come in with everybody else, right? I'm still not hanging out on my fucking rack. So yeah, I don't want to sleep and somebody's above me. I want to be. So I want to be on the top bunk. I'm not trying to be asleep and there's another human being above me. I don't like that. I'm not into that. I don't like that shit. But yeah, in a prison, I guess it would be different. Potentially. I don't know. But it is jail rules to some extent, but open dorm, right? So yeah, I did not work the same day that and here's my work ethic, and I don't want any credit, but I was out of the workforce, right, for literally damn near an entire decade. Well, I got this job at the airport, and I did work at the call center for like a month or whatever, but effectively out of the workforce based on what the system's metrics are, right? Out of the workforce. I worked every day in a row. I just showed up. So they scheduled me and told me when to work. And then I just sort of asked just enough of a question to see, like, do they allow more or less, does overtime happen on this job? Yes or no? And I showed up like 21 days in a row. Finally, the manager, who ended up getting in trouble for allegedly sexually harassing some of the ladies, by the way. anyway, it is what it is. I didn't have nothing to do with it. I wasn't involved, but before he went on suspension or whatever they done to him, because at a certain point I just never saw him ever again. That's happened to me twice actually. It started at a Pizza Hut, and the general manager of the Pizza Hut was it was coming out that he was being accused of inappropriate behavior towards the female staff, and he also right after I started was just never saw him again, and I took advantage of that because then now Pizza Hut wants to they want to get the assistants to work for free and to do two managers can do the store manager job for less money. Now the district manager sees, oh, my bonus is going to be better because I'm not going to be paying. I got 2 months to not pay a fucking store manager, and these bozos, I'll just tell these two assistants that they're in line for the job. Meanwhile, I'll just bring in somebody from somewhere else. You know how we all know the game by now. I've fallen for that. Oh, we're gonna fucking elevate you. Just fucking do a bunch of shit for free in the meantime. Yeah, I know that game now. Fuck you, buddy. That's not their fault. If I fall for that, that's my fault. Caught me slipping. Well played. Capitalism. Well played, capitalism. Which is bad, by the way. Capitalism is bad, folks. I understand a lot of us who got a similar fucking Cold War programming. We got the capitalism is good programming. Capitalism is bad. Communism, pure fucking evil. So, lest we forget. So, yeah, the American system is certainly slightly less evil than some of what may be viewed as the enemy. You have a cough button, broadcaster, by the way. I almost always have a cough button. Not always, but almost always. Mohegan Sun. Don't let me win 20,000 on a scratcher, though. I will tell you that. I will hurt him in the poker in the short term before I do whatever I'm going to do with that 20 grand. And hell, I might drop 5 of it and decide well, I guess I turned 20 into 15, and then I might decide what to do with it. But that's always in play. They don't have to keep gambling. That's another thing I don't think folks realize about when I say, oh, I'd love to save up 20 grand and go play poker. Part of that is I might drop 10 buy-ins in a row, which is normal. That's absolutely within the normal range of things that can and will happen. And I might just be like, all right, well, I guess I'm done with the poker for now. 4 o'clock in the morning. Is he banking or is he I think I've seen the homeless over here before, though. Are they banking or do they work here? That's the question. Although, and you know, when I say I don't like pickup trucks as far as just as a vehicle type and as an aesthetic, not true. I only like what were pickup trucks when I was a kid, meaning regular cab. I actually like pickups. It's just I only like regular cab visually. I forget that sometimes, but then the guy pulls in with a regular cab pickup, and I'm like, that's right, I do like pickup trucks. It's not true, because I am an American also. And part of that is, I would say, especially for a male, liking pickup. But to me, if it's not a regular cab, it's not a pickup. Think about that. Egg whites, I think, see, I associate egg whites with estrogen. I really do. And I associate egg yolks with, again, this is what I was talking about earlier. I never fully made the point. Animal fats and animal dietary cholesterol from animals, super good, especially for the male. A male cannot make optimum testosterone. They can't. Now, the reality is, now here's where we get into the leftism and the communism, folks, and this is where we get into the that people who believe themselves to be traditional family values conservatives, although if you look at their actions, they are certainly nothing of the kind if we look at how they behave. But they believe that they are that, and certainly ideologies have been installed in their brain that they are still at least acting on in part, right? Well, although while not fully, certainly we see the baby truther code has been installed, and it, you know, there's certainly the code is changed, right? It's codified over time. The code is codified over time. Interesting how the terms work. But then also the dynamic of someone came here and that person leaving somehow makes it easier because I was an object at rest for a time, right? An object's rest, you know, inertia, right? They don't need inertia explained to them, Keith. I can just say inertia and they know what I mean. See how it works, Bubba? Yes, I'm also doing my own version of getting better at that also, sir. as Keith so helpfully pointed out, he knew all the proper terms when I was trying to explain what a battery was. But you notice I stopped myself and did not actually explain what a battery was. That's the annoying part, Keith, where Keith seems like he's almost compelled to give. That's a schizophrenic thing. Like I'm not saying he has that, because I could never diagnose anybody, even if I spent time with them, right? There's other humans about. Let's see if they're leaving. I'm gonna wait and let them leave first. They're dumpster diving, I believe. So I won't let them. Some folks would prefer not to be observed while they're digging through the trash. I'll head this way. Yeah, there you go. Free coupons. I will say this: any place that's got free play, I think I have the best strategy for the free money, because they make you play it. Obviously, some places will just give a $10 bill in cash. That's not unheard of, but typically, they're paying you $10 to sign up with their reward system, and then now they're going to mail you all type of shit if you're dumb enough to give them your physical address, right? And yes, I've been dumb enough to do that before. Now, I was the type of gambler who I've trained myself, and I don't even like signing up for those cards, but I'm signed up for a bunch of them. It just ends up happening. And then in poker, they used to give a certain number. I would get a certain meal credit for every hour I played, so it's like fucking free food, right? Why not? But um, I was definitely compulsive gambling during me and number two's marriage at times, and no doubt about it. So that's another thing, ladies. Yeah, sometimes a lady gets married and it's the guy's engaged in compulsive gambling, right? That's a thing that can happen. I thankfully came out the other end of that though, but it certainly was a thing for a time, right? The compulsive gambling, which isn't necessarily that bad of a problem, believe it or not, as long as the person is somehow able to be introspective enough to say, oh, this is compulsive gambling, meaning to review the recent actions, and then, as I've been trying to work with highly suspect about, then to characterize what that is. Okay, I see these behaviors that I've done. What is that? Oh, that's compulsive gambling. And then surrendering through a never bullshit myself process, where I don't concern myself with it feels really shameful and dirty, and maybe there's guilt because now I have been embodying this thing, right? I skip that part. I have a little bit of an advantage, but I'm also dealing with emotions in other areas, so nobody escapes. And that, when I say what I just said, half the time it gets conflated or construed as, so you're saying you don't have emotions. And I'm like, y'all know I'm a pretty fucking straight shooter, direct communicator. Wouldn't I just say that if that's what I meant? If I did not experience emotions ever, wouldn't I just say that? But then hopefully, wouldn't y'all be able to tell? Like, I'm fucking comically emotional for a dude. Like, really? No, I'm not saying that I don't have emotions. I'm not saying I'm a robot. I'm saying I don't have to worry about how I feel about that. Shout out to 28 in the house on a Sunday morning. Yeah, dietary cholesterol and animal fat, very good. And a male cannot maximize their natural testosterone without those. Cannot. No, if a male is not consuming that, whatever they're making, they will make more. Period. End of story. Now, not if they don't do other behaviors correctly. I'm saying if that's the only change. So let's say, oh, he's 32 and his testosterone is, and I understand free testosterone is a part. I'm just going to go by total testosterone, because I'm not an endocrinologist, but he's got his total testosterone is like 780, which would be considered quite good for a 32-year-old, although not abnormal in any way, but higher end, right? It would be considered higher end.
Well, if that gentleman is not is never consumes eggs or uh, fatty steaks, if he then changes nothing but begins consuming fatty steaks and eggs, his testosterone will go up 100 motherfucking percent of the time, and if it doesn't, he has a medical issue. That's fucking science, y'all. Now we can get into the ethics around consuming animals. Well, yeah, we can talk about how nightmarish, in my view, the meat industry is in this country, and we can get into that. Well, fast food, that's probably not even beef at all, or there's been a legalese perpetrated through the corporate system and the various courts or whatever, a conspiracy, a literal RICO, to somehow be able to to credibly claim that that's beef. Just like you can go into Walmart or other establishments, not just Walmart, and it can say on the beef, product of USA, and it can absolutely have come from another country. Do your own research, by the way. Don't take my word for it, but that's indisputable. And in fact, for the very first time, right about the time the pandemic was getting declared, I believe technically in February of 2020, the United States began the first ever importation of beef from Africa. Meanwhile, American beef is considered the best beef in the world. Considered. Right? I'm not saying other countries don't have excellent beef, but I am some of the time have purchased beef in America from Australia. This is where we get into the globalism, so-called, and I'm not going globe talk, but the so-called globalism, the one world, the one realm corporate structure, right? The fucking beast, man, the new world order, in a way. Y'all know what I'm saying? The World Trade Organization. Some of these other countries, apparently, according to my research, took the U.S., sued them at the World Trade Organization, and the World Trade Organization said, okay, U.S., you can no longer, you may continue to, basically, yeah, they forced them to more or less keep the product of USA, but some of that is beef from other countries. I mean, that's the best way I can say it. But then, how much is that is, again, now we're back to Benito Mussolini's helicopter and get run over out here. Now we get back to, that's Arkansas for you, by the way. Dude could have got over a lane. This big old truck. Come as close to me as he can. Fuckers. Constantly fucked with. To some extent. As a male Arkansan. Constantly fucked with. Kind of like it a little bit too. Some of it at least. Yeah, all right. I'm glad there's a little bit of aggression out here still. It's refreshing in a way. Grass fed. Well, yeah, that's the thing is if it's actually, if the animal is actually what the claim is, if it's just, a natural animal living what would be its natural life otherwise, right? I mean, the fact that I don't even really have the language to even really, to even really describe what I'm trying to say, right? But we know grass fed, they just turn that into a definition. Again, back to Word Wizard, what he talks about a lot. I'm looking at some of these canned products over time, during the course of my illness, and some of it's like vegetable broth. Well, I can go to the damn USDA.gov, and there's a definition. There's a legal fucking definition of what is vegetable broth. And it's not just whatever you or me at a level of common sense might agree is vegetable broth. That ain't got nothing to do with it. All right. Nothing. And I don't remember offhand exactly what the definition was, but everything everything's defined that way. Like literally everything. No hyperbole. Effectively everything. And that's where I get into this. When I say system speak, I'm like, that's system speak. Was that highly suspect was doing that? I was like, that's system speak. Somebody was. I don't know who that was. Looping into system speak, bro. What the fuck? Yeah, I can do system speak too. I do, but like, I don't think he knew it was system speak. I think that's the problem. It's like, bro, that's system speak. and you're right. He's out of the system. So that I caught him one time. I was like, bro, you're not even in that system anymore. Like it's so new to him with the the state national, the Illinoisan. Why did he pick the one state that I basically will never be able to pronounce? But yeah, Illinois State National. Let's just say that. I had to remind him. I'm like, bro, you're not even a part of that anymore. Like, why are you upset? You got out, Padna. Are you out? He's not though. Why? Because his psychology is formed within the system. His psychology, to some extent, is that thing. Oh, I know what it was. He said "we," referring to the United States federal government. I was like, no, that's them, bro. You're not it. You left that. Remember? You see what I mean? That's an example of how it works with psychology. Certainly. Yeah, it's a trip. And yeah, I'm not just trying to get him in a gotcha. It's real. So on some level, people want to destroy the system or reform the system. If this shit gets broken down, or we will make it again. The people will just recreate it. How could they not? If and we're talking about with highly suspect, he knows a lot of stuff. He does think for himself. He's a thoughtful person. Like that's all true. Like maybe he's going through something. I don't know. A bunch of people have been attacked on many different levels the last several years. Who the hell knows? I've witnessed it though. It's in there. What up, Mr. Cleveland? I got too fucked up, man. I was wanting to talk to you about the mini PCs, man. I've been looking into them. They got a lot of cool looking shit for not a lot of money right now. I certainly don't regret my purchase, but I'm looking at mine like, damn, I really missed a chance to kick in like another $100. I could have got something way better. It's kind of confusing because just going on to Amazon and just searching for mini PCs, there's so many different options. But I'm starting to figure it out a little more, which processor's faster and all this. I got one of the pretty decent, like in the middle. But the one I have is now like $250 after there's like a $70 coupon. I think I paid like right at 300 plus tax, like 330. Of course it was like 330 after with the taxes, I think. But if you paid like 350, you can get a pretty fucking fast computer, from what I've been seeing, Rob. So if you're still in the market or whatever, laptop overall still more convenient, I would say. But I'm a fan of the mini PC for sure. You're gonna pay more money for the same performance, obviously, in a laptop, a notebook. What's up, Mr. Freedom Grower? Good to see you, sir. Yeah, I pulled the body cam footage. I don't think it didn't look like it was gonna be much to it. Check it out at some point. Laptop, yeah, I mean, they're definitely more convenient and easy to carry around and stuff. But there's advantages to the mini PC too, clearly. Although then we get into how much will you actually be moving around with it. If it only ever gets used in one place, now I'm back to mini PC. See, Rob, I'm just in my life, I'm moving around a lot, mobile or whatever. But I'm assuming you'd want to take it to work. I'm just guessing. I don't know. I don't know. And then some of these laptops are so cheap. It's like you're not necessarily an either or, right? Golden age of affordable electronics, man. It really is. Has been. It continues, as far as I can tell. There was cool shit in the 80s and 90s. I couldn't afford almost any of it. So yeah. Might just grind my way into a job, you never know. Content creator, barely eking out a living. I've seen a channel, some guy in true crime, I forget, Lamont at Large or something. Anybody seen this channel? But he claims to be hum. Sure he is, lives in his car or whatever, travels around. He seems to be deriving all of his income from YouTube. Seems like. Which that, it's never a guarantee. I can stop at any time. It's a precarious existence. Same thing with truck driving. I saw, man, it's like this thing could be over with in an instant. Wreck, fucking just all kind of things could happen. It's also a precarious existence. Sure did like them paychecks though. I gotta say, I've never met. It's far and away the most money I've ever made. IT didn't pay shit. Not the way I did it. I must have did it wrong. That got me out of the low wage stuff though. IT did. Got me out of the $8 an hour zone, but it didn't do too much more for me. Didn't do much more for me beyond that. Hell, I made as much waiting tables at Outback as I did in IT for real. Had my own office and like halfway. It's kind of a prestigious job in a way. In a way. Now this is where credit rating is a thing. Is like I could absolutely rent Arkansas, especially in even here in Fort Smith, but like up in Fayetteville, up in Northwest Arkansas, there's a lot of affordable like co-working space, whatever they call it. I forget, there's some kind of term for that. Or just have my, like when I had my own office when I worked for that Walmart vendor, they just rented that. It was like $150 a month, or it was like damn near free. There's still space like that, but then you get into like probably have to do a year lease and all these things, right? I'm talking like 350 bucks a month, 350 Wi-Fi, but I guess I'd need my own. I guess I'd need my own connection. I guess I don't even have to have that really if I'm doing mostly IRL, right? No, man, YouTube just unsubscribes people, and some people seem like they just kind of come and go for whatever reason. So I don't know. Hard to say, man. But yeah, YouTube definitely. There's no doubt that it keeps the metrics within a certain. Yeah, they'll do whatever they got to do to keep it within a certain range for a time, right? So and I think some of that is keeping me doing the content, right? Or whatever they're trying to get out of me. It's a manipulation, right? It's trying to manipulate me to get what it thinks it's trying to get, or whatever it's programmed to try to get. And then I'm trying to get what I'm trying to. You see what I mean? It's interesting, those dynamics. I'm certain, like that's game theory. I'm guessing, like the math, A Beautiful Mind, right? With Russell Crowe, that guy, John Nash. What's up, Big Drink T? Good to see you, bro. Yeah, I don't know if I want to try to do anything from my computer today or not. Just ended up rambling, getting fucking baked and rambling yesterday. Kind of fun though. I do like to do at least once every week, once every 2 weeks. I think it's good to have a longer show. Just sort of air it all out, be done with it. Till next time. Yep. Oh, really? Yeah. See, that's the thing is, yeah, Rob has said that he got moved to a different post. He can't really bullshit like he used to. Yeah, that's one thing where that's an interesting dynamic on some of those jobs where it's like, yeah, it's still a serious job, right? Like it's not they pay Rob just to fucking be physically in a room or whatever. Like it's still there's still like a job to be done. Sometimes it's like this other we had to move you to wherever because of this thing. And yeah, I know how it goes, man. So yeah, I'm sure you enjoyed it while it lasted, and perhaps it will come back around. Perhaps. Yeah. But I've been happy with some of the content. Has been sort of got spinning our wheels in the mud to some extent, but I think I feel like I'm working out of it. It's going to be all right. THC is still winding down. That may be quite the process, but I know I don't like to just be baked all day when I have like shit to do, you know. And so I'm gonna have I'm gonna be having more and more things to do. I think in the short terms, like just going shopping today. Yeah, it's 4:30. I'm going shopping. Probably leave around 6, a little after 6. I don't know, man. Am I revealing too much information about my position? Now it's like, am I revealing too much info about my position and where I'm going to be when to the internet? Those are also factors, lest we forget. So far, so good. I'm just more or less trusting my gut. Gas station. Yeah, I've done a lot of gas station work. Indeed, sir. I spent a lot of time jockeying a gas station cash register. Oh, that's cool. Yeah. Yeah, most of those jobs are pretty fucking boring. I've worked in a few places that were busy, man. Like when I worked at that place here that I've showed a couple times on stream, we always had two people on register at all times. Although when we're stocking or whatever, like I guess one of us would go back and forth, but two fucking people on registers, and then on the weekends they would do three, like the weekend afternoon and night, even the morning probably. Now that I think about it, yeah, certain days of the week it was three. So my thing is, it's actually I kind of enjoyed it, some aspects of that, but I only really want to do it where it's just busy and I'm just ringing people up the whole time. For me personally, and I don't like there were times when I chose to work when I was the only clerk. I would never I wouldn't even consider doing that job and only be the only clerk. I think that's crazy because it's like there's places where you're never the only clerk. Why would I choose to work at one where I'm the only person there the whole time? Which is kind of counterintuitive because you think, well, he's prefers his solitude or whatever. But it's like, yeah, I don't, but it's more dangerous. Like there's inherently, there's just drawbacks built right in. Like, cause now they want you to try to get something done overnight, stock this, do that, blah, blah, blah. But it's like, okay, so I'm just going to be in the back and whoever is going to come in and see what I mean? Like it's just not, I just don't see any reason for me to choose to work at one of those. Although I have in the past to choose to work in that environment. No thanks. By the way, other than truck driver, convenience store clerk is one of the most dangerous jobs statistically, as far as especially based on the risk, the safety risk. What's up, DS313? How are ya? Uh-oh. So whatever this handle is, I don't know whatever we call these. It's not really designed to hold this much weight, I guess, on that. The ball, articulating ball. I guess eventually it's not going to hold at all. I'm doing all right. I think I whined and cried about my health earlier, so I got that off. Got that out of the way. So it was wise to just wait until that was done. Show up. Certainly. Well played. Yeah, this I'm gonna need something a little better than this thing. I knew that when I bought it though. It's just sort of a I had 20 bucks and I was in Walmart and I needed something like this. It's been very useful. I've certainly gotten my 20 bucks use out of it, I would say. Seeing the need something a little different. Well, it's doing all right now. Maybe I just wasn't balancing properly. This is somewhat ridiculous. This is why I want a camera person because I would part of that is I want to be able to capture the absurdity of what I'm doing here. I'd like to be pictured on the video, just as the people are seeing me. I think that's an important element, or similar to how they're seeing me. Maybe not the exact same distance and angle. Yeah, I think you know what I mean. Like the same type of view. And then you have just like at this time in the morning with the level, especially with the levels of intoxication, sometimes people just like they make turns and try to go directions, and I just know it's because I'm walking around out here. Maybe they thought I was somebody they knew or whatever, but like if I'd have kept walking, they would have been right on top of me. Yeah, man, people are fucking weird. People are fucking weird, and that doesn't go anywhere. Like they're actually gonna just come back around and probably come back again. That's where I walked at the first part of the broadcast. So all that does is loop around to this same road. That loop, you know, yeah, doesn't go anywhere. So in fact, I think I'm gonna maybe take the opportunity to disappear temporarily. I guess it would be an advantage to be able to turn this screen off, huh? I'm not gonna completely disappear. I think I still hear them though. They might have just been looking for somewhere to stop temporarily, do God knows what. I feel like I can hear them down there idling. Probably just drunk, so don't know what the fuck's going on. Or they're watching the live stream. That'd be funny. It's just like, well, hey, you bozo. Who you calling dumb? We're watching you on goddamn TV, effectively. 33 in the house. Hello. Well, I learned how to book a win and quit when I'm ahead today. I could have yesterday, and then I continued on. Sort of sputtered out there at the end. So extended sputtering, to be clear. It's still Saturday night, I guess. And I will say I have no desire to go grocery shopping. I'm obviously grateful to have money and food to eat and all that stuff. Yeah. Well, I think we're probably about done. I'm gonna run into the same problem as yesterday, though. I kind of want to keep yapping. It's too early to do that from my room. I don't know. Maybe I will dip off over here and drink the rest of my water at least, and then reassess. old man early AM vlogs. We'll hang out over here by the back door of the restaurant. Yeah, I might give me a few roasts. Check out the meats. I don't know, it's Sunday morning. First thing Sunday morning may not be the best time to get the best cuts of meat. I was thinking about that last night. Fuck it. I'm sure they'll have something for me. Sure they'll have something for me. It seems like almost stable. All right. Apologies if the wind noise is there. That's not a whole lot I can do about that. And this bar is in the way of Mike. And the I can't even see. Okay, there we go. Yeah, maybe some better low light performance also. So Tribe, I've been looking into the upgrade. You know, he wasn't wrong about the upgrading the equipment as well as maybe some of the. I guess now there's other hardware that can be used for streaming, IRL streaming. Then some company trying to sell and rent fucking streamers, backpacks, whatever. I don't fucking know. I don't know that changing phones is going to help anything unless I went pretty high end, like $1,000. Yeah. Yeah. It's fire up the grill. Yeah, I think in the short term, I'm just going to be every once in a while I'll be throwing a roast or two in the slow cooker, but probably just with sweet, like one big sweet potato. Back off the radish and onions. Although I have been stepping up the kimchi lately. That's been working out pretty well. It's delicious. It's expensive, whatever it is. You package at the store. Walmart, they usually have something in a jar, a glass jar that's halfway decent. And I get the vegan because shrimp makes me break out most of the time. Vegan. Walmart, but they don't have it here. Any of these, none of these WalMarts have it here in town for whatever reason. 3 freaking super centers and 2 neighborhood markets. What the hell, man? Right. Nobody will be able to tell though. First thing in the morning. Yeah, still got an hour, over an hour, almost 2 hours. Yeah, hour and a half. See, I got time. I'll be good. That'll be my last rips until after I get back from my shop. Yeah, the extra 4 cans of tuna. I thought it might mess up my my stomach and my gallbladder or whatever. digestion. It did a little bit. Just very happy with that. His gout or neuropathy or whatever the fuck it is would go away. Be alright with me. I guess I'm gonna hang out at this restaurant and wrap up the wrapping. Hanging out by the buckets and the little pots and pans or whatever these are. Kind of metal bowl. If I had some cardboard, I could sit down, man. SMH. Ribeye. Yeah, filet I'm not a fan of anyway. It's too lean. I like the fattiest steak possible. I haven't recently, but that's probably a good idea. Soaking in the Epsom salt. Yeah, that's I've heard good things about particularly the magnesium and the foot baths. Yeah, that was. I would say no to answer your question, but I have in the past, but that was a lady typically giving me the foot bath, right? But yeah, I'm pretty sure at least some of those times that would have been some magnesium in there. Yeah, I'm a proponent overall, but I would need to prove it with my actions probably a little more. Okay, there is a place to sit up here. Okay, good. Sort of, yeah. Oh yeah, railroad ties formed into a planter or whatever. Planter. See, I'm not too much into the pampering of myself. I mean, I'm not against it. It's just I tend not to more than certainly not opposed though. So, as long as the fella doesn't become preoccupied with those sort of activities, which certainly I would never would. But yeah, every once in a while, probably not such a bad idea. Soak in some magnesium. I'm more of a if I'm going to be doing something like that, it end up being an ice bath or something. I'm not sure that was good for the organs either. Sirloin. Yeah, ribeye is expensive. I agree. Then I get into thinking, is it feasible to buy an entire loin or whatever it is and just I guess it would you'd need a large expensive cooker, I guess, to cook the whole thing at once. I don't know, man. Not trying to problem solve, just genuinely curious. I don't know how it works. I know Big L bought like him and his sister split a side of beef, I think, and he said it was very. If you do it that way, apparently it's quite a bit more economical, assuming the person uses all of those various cuts, right? Which I'm guessing they are going to. Yeah, yeah, it is definitely, especially yeah, if one is insistent upon a certain. Because I'm willing to subject myself to some fuckery. I know it's fuckery at the level of yeah, I know they shot it up with hormones and antibiotics or whatever. Like I get it, but still going to eat it at the end of the day. But I haven't eaten a lot of meat. Obviously, almost none. If you're talking about beef, actually, I went damn near a whole year with no beef, and historically been although I was more of a chicken eater in my earlier. I ate a lot of chicken more than chicken and turkey. A lot of turkey sandwich meat, actually. Mechanically separated turkey. I don't know, whatever that ends up being. Prepackaged. I'm sure. I think there was days I probably killed like a 2-pack, like the big ones, because my parents didn't give a fuck. We sold them at our convenience store, so I always had a supply no matter what. Unlimited cold cuts. Yeah, I'm sure I crushed the turkey. Oh, a whole cow. Big drink tea. Of course you do, big drink tea. Of course you do. He just buys a cow, 3,200, 350 a pound. Yeah, yeah. Now we get into, yeah, how efficient is that nose to tail? But I mean, a lot of that meat, especially that's organic, right? I mean, I'm assuming you're only buying organic, and you know the person you're buying it from. I'm just assuming. Although I guess that's a commodity, right? To a certain point, just that certain type of animal is just it's worth this amount of money, right? Is that how that works? I guess the parties can make their own deals. I don't know. It's interesting to think about. Yeah, chicken. I eat almost no chicken now, but lots of fried chicken, certainly in my early days. Fried chicken on the daily, if not multiple times on the daily. Yeah, split a bison with the neighbor. Yeah, there you go. There you go. Yeah, we'll wrap up here pretty shortly. You see how I'm timed though. I've trained myself. If you see the time, Z, I could end now and let the people choose their own palate cleanser before they go over to Z. If it was Monday through Friday, and then if I want to, I can wrap up uh, right about the time his music starts or right about the time he starts talking. You see what time it is. I've trained myself. I just do this now without even thinking about it. I'm just right here by my hovel. Nice. Part owner of 198 acres farm in Ohio. Awesome, man. Yeah, you seem like a person who's made some intelligent choices, certainly. Um, so, you know, kudos to you, sir. I haven't met many people. I've known for a long time that my life would be better if I stopped putting, water on my skin that has all these chemicals in it from the city water supply. So some folks just say fuck it and go do whatever it takes and get the distillers and all of that. Hook it up to the shower. Can't be that big of a deal, but it's quite the undertaking, I'm sure, starting from nothing. So yeah, very, very, very smart. No, I think he's Monday through Friday only. He's probably done some weekends here and there, but I tend to do better just every time I'm thinking, well, maybe I'll skip today, or I'm hesitant or doubtful. It's better for me to just do it anyway. It's a helpful exercise. Although every once in a while, I can just be like, all right, I'm taking the day off. And it's not a living from the super chats, but it's not zero either. Right? Not every show either. People do tend to kick down on it on occasion, and it does add up, right? So, obviously, that's not the entire motivation. It's a factor, I guess. Once it kicks in, once I start actually getting paid, because I still have not. Whenever that's going to be. Apparently, it's between the 7th and the 12th, but it may not be until October for me. That's not been made entirely clear. Here, let me hook this hooking up the lavalier. Oh, I know, I unplugged it. Around back. Around back. If people sit outside the motel and smoke, I guess I could sit out there, but I don't want to run into nobody. Yeah. Shout out to Z Warbrier. Yep. I'm still wondering. I don't know how I'm gonna do if I end up doing his show. I said if I had to, I would just go down to the library and do it on their Wi-Fi, which is an option, certainly. Especially if I can get close enough to the. That's where those longer range USB device, USB Wi-Fi adapters come in. I ordered one at a certain point, and then I changed my mind and realized I needed to spend that. It was better to spend that money on other things. Oh, is the light on in there? Might be people here. It is fucking 4 o'clock in the morning. I didn't notice that before. There were lights on in there. Better move along, man. I didn't think it was on when I got here. You never know. Hardworking folks tend to show up early, right? Sunday buffet? I don't know. Yep. Or they like living there. Yeah, definitely err on the side of like not disturbing folks, right? Right. Shout out to Z War for your. Yeah, some of this is I am capturing the captive audience. That's a contradiction in terms, certainly. Yeah, capturing the captive audience. Probably they just left that light on, and I just never noticed. Or I didn't remember it being on. Huh? Is it Sunday or Monday? Now I forgot. It's Sunday, right? No, it was a day off. Yes, Sunday. There was a day off at a certain point, as I recall. Sit down here. Yeah, Sunday. Machine lies still. No way, dude. Well, I'm impressed then 30 in the house over here, man. Although it's definitely not the same. Not a lot of crossover, certainly some, but in a way. That's interesting. I asked about that and it was hours ago, right? That I asked about that. Yeah, what I'm talking about, yeah, I'm sure that helps too also. But specifically if I needed to go to the library and then use their Wi-Fi, uh, that USB, the external thing, it's designed for longer range, but it has like extra functions in the hardware, like the chipset. And under Linux, Linux has a lot of software that is for like they call it like packet snooping, I think, and like basically monitoring a network, just sort of if I want to capture a bunch of packets and see if I can do something with them or whatever. Not my thing necessarily, but I did a little bit of web cracking back in the day when most of the routers were WEP encryption. That stuff's pretty fucking easy to break, uh, from what I understand, certainly theoretically, right? Certainly against the law to break into the neighbor's router and start using their Wi-Fi. Never did that, of course. That's wild though. They got a problem over there, man. Some of the folks all fucking night. Yeah, yeah. Benton's on here at 4:53, but I've been to sleep already. That's the trick, man. That's the key to all of this. Even if it's only an hour and a half, like Truth or Bowl weekend, that was the sleep I got in one, probably in one 24-hour period was one hour and a half. But it's still anything, you know. I'd say if it's a minimum of an hour and a half, it's probably the shortest. But actually, it's probably three. Although it was on EBT stream, it seemed more like an hour and a half. Either way, yeah, I slept on EBT's one of EBT's live streams on Truth or Bowl weekend, and him and Bernie thought I just like put up a JPEG image or something, which I guess is possible. I don't really know that I knew how to do that at the time. No, they most of these libraries don't. They've made it easier to access the network. There was a time when like I know Hot Springs, I had to have a library card and I had to sign up, like even to I think like even I didn't have to sign up to use my own device, but I had to have a login. Like I think I had to have a library card, or maybe they would. I guess they would give a guest pass, but then I think on the guest pass they want you to use their computer. That's what it was. At a certain time they had it locked down. I think eventually maybe they got sued or whatever. I'm not exactly sure, but shout out to University of California Santa Barbara, by the way. When I first started going to the computer labs on campus, and I've been to computer labs on several different campuses. Austin, I used to go to their computer lab in the summer sometimes. And I'm respectful. You know, I use the facilities appropriately. You know, I don't make a nuisance of myself. But, and I'm a library person, so I fit in. to some extent, but I always have been. And I never saw none of my friends there unless they had to go there like for reference materials, some project they're not able to avoid. But I almost never ran into my buddies at the library growing up. But I was there on a probably on a weekly basis the whole way through. I'm assuming. Wouldn't have been many weeks I didn't go to the main library downtown, or not downtown, in my hometown. We had a pretty good main library. It wasn't bad. It wasn't bad at all. A lot of cool shit. Love the libraries. But yeah, at UCSB, they just had no login, no nothing. It was just wide open. Come use our really nice, expensive PCs, and I guess Macs, but I was using the PCs. And yeah, okay, I don't like to use Windows, but I will use it if I actually need to do some shit on a PC. Some stuff you just kind of have to do on a PC, realistically. Yeah, I have like in Austin when I was did not have my own computer for a lot. Well, for a long most of that decade, I did not have my own computer as far as carrying it with me. Maybe I had a laptop somewhere. I'm sure I had a pretty much always had a PC somewhere. I would imagine for the most part. It's a good question. I'm not exactly sure. Where did my last PC go? Huh? No idea. Interesting. But yeah, then this one idiot, this one really crazy homeless chick ruined it for everybody because she used to just go in there and like she'd use the computer, but then she'd just leave all her stuff at the computer that she claimed as hers, and then she would just leave for like hours at a time, and she would just expect that. So she'd come back if it was like finals week or like there's times when the students like need all the computers for the most part. It's like then somebody would be using the computer and she'd be freaking out. So eventually they started putting use logins and passwords. We could still use them, but it added a layer of hassle that really did not need to be there. Yeah, a lot of those libraries you can get another session if nobody is signed, if nobody's waiting. That's how it was at the main library in Santa Barbara, the city of. They had it was like an hour, I think, or 40, whatever it was. I don't remember, but then as long as nobody was waiting, or you could more or less, even if they are, you just get back in the line effectively, and get another session. So I've definitely used those a lot, and then even some of the branches, like if Ginger Ridge was around, shout out the east side of Santa Barbara. There's a branch on the east side I've been to a bunch of times. Get the Milpas. They're off of Milpas. I love Santa Barbara, man. If I was to just money is no object, like literal Powerball, and it's like, but then that's a level of wealth where it's like the person lives in multiple places effectively, or most of them would. I guess if I just money no object, if I could just pick a place and I could afford to have a house there and you know afford to eat good food there and the whole thing, just a fantasy, right? It probably would be Santa Barbara County. I don't know that it would be Santa Barbara proper necessarily. I think it probably would be. It's tough to beat, man. I also like Eugene a lot, but I don't know, man. With the rainy season and that many days of some it's like 250 plus days with some measurable amount of precipitation or whatever. Although less rainfall in inches than places like say Little Rock, Arkansas, maybe even Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. And that's a lot of big thunderstorms in cases, right? Seattle, not really that much rain in inches. Lots and lots of days with measurable precipitation. Hard to beat Portland or Seattle in July and August, though. It effectively doesn't rain for 60 days, although certainly it can, but that's anywhere. That's literally anywhere. As we see Burning Man rained out. Y'all, I skimmed an article right before this broadcast about Burning Man being rained out, apparently. Your thoughts? Oh, there's no panel. Fantastic. That's my preferred panel most of the time. It was so wild, man, in these streets when I first started paneling. The panelverse, the panelopticon, whatever we're calling it. Seems to have quieted down, but I'm sure there people are going after it in some places, right? How could they not be? Well, I think that's about all I got at the moment. Perhaps we did better content this morning. I'm not exactly sure. Of course, it's still nighttime for some folks, and other folks maybe you know, far in a part of the realm seemingly far away from this. Yeah, the so-called gout is making its presence known again. Funny how that works. Oh, it's time to. I see now that it's time to go turn off the slow cooker. Although that won't. A few minutes on either side of that won't make much of a difference. I started it on low at like 3 p.m. yesterday, but I don't even really count like the first 2 hours. It takes a while on low to get going. The cook time is going to be around 12 hours as far as I can tell. I think I started it like 15, 20 minutes after 3. Yeah, we're good. Again, it's not. I could go and it could go another hour, and it's not going to ruin it. Yeah. Yes, indeed, doing that, and we'll continue to. This is part of that to some degree. Yeah, definitely need to maybe dial in some of my habits a little more strictly. But it's good to know not to. Next time I can, because I'm doing my shopping this morning, and if I had eggs, I don't think if I still had eggs left, I would have eaten that 4 whole cans. Two, I don't think would have been that bad. I had the 2, and then I had the other 2, like 45 minutes later. Yeah. So I think as far as the body's concerned, that's basically one meal. That's too much. It's too much, too large of a meal for me to be eating. Causes problems. Yeah, man, hit that grill, partner. Music told the secret. Well, appreciate y'all being here. I'm gonna wrap it there. I need to get my head right. Go do this shopping. Wind down the broadcast. Get my errands did. And probably be back after that. Y'all know how I like to do. So can't promise, of course. I promise nothing, but pretty decent chance I'll be back from the computer, rambling and intoxicated by the intoxicated synthetic cannabinoid induced ramblings of Mr. Benton. Thank you